Chokonia wacha ngwerese na usike vizuri. Unachua si ati tuwachui mnataka kuharibia hoteli siva. Wewe mwenyewe ukichangalia hata mwili yako. Mara ya mwisho ulikunywa tawa ya minyoni lini? Mama kayai. Pokea uponyaji. Enkai mama yana mama kayai. Muponyeshe hii pande isikana na hii pande. System yake yote ya mwili irudi vile nataka kuwa. Alifanya hebu niondoke.
Mimi shika njia uende zako.
FM Ilaiska Umada.
No, I don't think you're ready for that one yet.
What happened to not hogging the ball?
Yes, you could hog. I just think you're not ready yet.
Aki baba mbona nikikupata huku? Nikikupata huku wewe, yani unibia mbao yangu, ukamkukunywa. Hiki kibaba ni kera gani? Hiki kibaba wacha nikushike wewe.
Abuda, kuna noma nini?
Labda tuambie.
Si raha tuna noma. Arani kujitoa tuko najitoa.
So you said you're showing me evidence. I want to see it for myself. Plus the little boys, kwani what are they going to do? Ziggy! Ziggy, please, guys, please stop. Please say yes, someone help us. Ziggy!
Enjoy a selection of the best. Regina Ray and Tingazi.
Bado hujamwambia unamlike. Umerealize hajamwachilia mkono kutoka nikuje hapa.
Love blossoms in Mexico with the trio sisters in Las Bandidas.
I beg you, please don't go.
Want you to be the happiest man in the world with a woman who appreciates and respects you.
An array of music rave.
Make me lie when I don't want to.
Blues.
You are my everything.
Two local gems. And we sit to chat with the Thiambo.
You know, I can't even tell whether you're looking at me, seeing me.
The Louis Vuitton.
Classic comedy.
Makono tu. Mashabiki.
Say that again.
Enjoy the Divas programming this February only on KBC Channel 1. Kenya's watching.
Well, it's another day that we meet again. I hope you had a great weekend. Good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning. My name is Marie, and this is Good Morning Kenya. Well, the implementation of the junior secondary school curriculum is still a matter of concern as disparities emerges between public and private schools. We know in public schools, they say, for instance, 2 teachers handle up to 171 students compared to a private school where there are 6 teachers for 40 students. Well, we will be following that and more stories in regard to the JSS implementation for you. Well, in the news this morning, President William Ruto calls on lenders, to international lenders, to reduce the interest rates to African countries, which he says favors the West. And the Wiper Democratic Movement is accusing the Kenya Kwanza administration of sowing divisions within the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance. Well, that story and more coming up in the news this morning. But before that, good morning, Victor. Good morning, Doreen and Ram.
Good morning.
How was your weekend?
All right, mine was fantastic. I hope yours was good as well.
Well, I was working.
Thank you so much. Welcome to the program. And of course, it's the 20th day of February 2023. Later on in the program, I'll be joined by MP, that is Stephen Muli, who is Mule, that is MP of Matungulu, as well as Honorable Peter Irungu, who is a member of Parliament of Kangema, and political analyst Arnold Maliba. We have got plenty to talk about in Eye on Politics. Please, people in politics, Eye on Politics. People in politics, Eye on Politics, confusing. All right, Eye on Politics later on in the next hour. Stick around, much more coming up. Welcome to the program. My name is Victor. Doreen.
Which one is it? Is it the I? Is it the PNP? Is it the weekend? Which one is it?
Weekend of Politics, it's Eye on Politics. Mondays, Eye on Politics.
Oh, yes.
That's Eye on Politics, Monday, People in Politics, Tuesday. Right.
We pardon you, it was the weekend. Let's
it was a long one. Absolutely.
Anyway, beautiful morning to you. Speaking of a lot happening in the country right now, as we speak, the Law Society of Kenya is actually challenging the state over the deployment of KDF in the banditry-prone areas, parts of Elgeyo Marakwet, Samburu, Turkana, Pokot, Laikipia. And what they are saying is that this needs to be a preserve of Parliament, and that Parliament needs to approve of this first before this deployment even commences. However, a section of leaders, particularly from Baringo County, are now condemning this move by the Law Society of Kenya. This is even as these attacks continue in the north. In fact, as we speak, 3 were killed yesterday in Isiolo. So we wait to see how the state will do in regards to this, and just what more they will do as far as this continued banditry in the north is concerned. Moreover, later on the show, we'll look at anxiety and obsessive compulsive disorder on our Family Check segment from 9 a.m. Stick around for that. Beautiful morning to you. Always a pleasure to have you on board. Good morning.
Of course, being a Monday, also today we have a different perspective coming up your way. Matters tech. That's right. Technology will be our focus on my end of the discussion. Today, let's take a look at how you can be able to use online marketing, the dynamics of online marketing from a tech perspective. How can you establish yourself online and make your presence known and take advantage of the technological advancements that we have currently today? That is the conversation we shall be having on this fine Monday morning. I shall be with Washington Mageto, the CEO of and founder of Plat Dell, together with Sanjir Jandu, the founder of Breathe Media. Stick around for that discussion that shall be coming up your way in a bit. Thank you so much for sticking with us on KBC Channel 1. This is Good Morning Kenya. As my colleagues have said, thank you so much for being with us. My name is Ram Aguko.
Thank you for tuning in into our first story of the morning, and that is President William Ruto has called for the re-evaluation of interest rates by international lending institutions on loans acquired by the African continent for development. Speaking on the sidelines of the 36th Africa Heads of State Summit in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, the president noted that development loans were expensive for Africans, calling upon reconsideration of the same to spur development in the continent.
Speaking on the sidelines of the 36th African Head of State Summit in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, President Ruto said the government is working on reorganizing this year's budget to cushion about 6 million people who are affected by severe drought. The president saying his government has spent more than 30 billion shillings feeding and accessing food for livestock, as well as water tracking.
We are going to reorganize our budget some more because the situation is not getting better, the situation is getting worse. So we are reassigning resources meant for development, resources meant for schools, resources meant for hospitals, to feed people, to feed livestock. And this year, we are going to have the 5th consecutive year of failed rains. The phenomenon is not getting better, it's getting worse.
Further, the president also appealed to the international lending institutions to reevaluate the interest on loans acquired by the African continent. President Ruto said that the adjustment was necessary to ensure financial setup was fair to all.
We are paying 100 times more than our compatriots in the global north. And that is why we are saying we need to redesign. We need a new system that understands, that is accountable, that makes those who have brought us here to the climate crisis that we have, the emitters, the polluters, they need to be held to account, so that an accountable system that doesn't punish the least polluters and doesn't reward the most, those who pollute the most, a system that works for everybody. And we are not asking for any favors. We are not asking for a system that favors us. We are asking for a system that is even.
At the same time, the head of state called for fairness in addressing matters climate change, saying the African continent has been affected more, despite making a very little contribution to the climate change. The president also reaffirmed Kenya's commitment in stabilizing the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Kenya is the only country that has deployed in DRC. It was agreed that 5 countries deploy. Only Kenya has deployed. We are waiting, and we have agreed that by end of this month, all the other countries will deploy. We have agreed on a metrics of deployment. We have agreed on a course of action. We have agreed that this military intervention is going to be in parallel with a political engagement of the combatants on the ground, M23, and all the other fighting forces, so that we can give ourselves the best opportunity to succeed.
Now, the Wiper Democratic Movement is now accusing the Kenya Kwanza administration of rocking divisions within the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance. Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka at the same time said the party was fully behind the ongoing Azimio la Umoja One Kenya People's Baraza.
In the wake of the perceived fallout in the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka now accuses the Kenya Kwanza government of political cannibalization.
The executive has made many attempts to divide the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition. They have openly used public institutions and public resources to entice individual members, quote unquote, in the name of development, to break ranks with their political parties.
Kalonzo challenged the ruling party to fulfill its campaign pledges, among them easing the cost of living among Kenyans.
Today, the Mamamboga cannot pay rent. The Boda Boda can barely fuel their motorbikes. Our farmers have maize rotting in silos. Yet this government is hell-bent on feeding Kenyans with GMOs. The average mwananchi is being overtaxed and overburdened. Unemployment is on the rise.
The Wiper leader supporting the ongoing Kenya People's Barazas that are meant to push the government to address the rising cost of living.
We, the leaders of the Wiper Democratic Movement, want to emphasize that we will not allow this country to retrogress to the dark days of the one-party state. Despite all their efforts, we remain united and indeed intact.
This comes as Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance postponed the Mombasa rally that had been scheduled for Saturday to a later date. In a statement to the newsroom, the coalition will instead hold the meeting in Kakamega County on the same date. The coalition also announced that it will hold a People's Baraza meeting in Kitale Town, Trans Nzoia County on Sunday.
A showdown is looming in Parliament this coming week when the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee begins to look at a memorandum seeking constitutional changes proposed by President William Ruto. While legislators are loyal to the Azimio coalition have indicated by all means that they will oppose the memorandum, their Kenya Kwanza colleagues are keen on using their numerical strength to push the proposals past the standing committee and on the floor of the House for debate and passage.
In a memorandum dated December 9th, 2022, addressed to the speakers of both houses of Parliament, President William Ruto proposed an amendment of a constitution enacted in 2010. The president wanted a relook into Chapter 9 of a constitution to create the office of official leader of opposition, an amendment to establish a formula that will guide the computation of the gender ratio in the National Assembly, the entrenchment of a national government constituency development fund, and the amendment of a standing orders to allow cabinet secretaries participate directly in parliamentary proceedings. On Wednesday, the National Assembly began debate on the proposals before they were referred to the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, with Azimio-affiliated leaders showing no signs of let-up they would oppose the constitutional changes.
Of the 4 issues that have been raised in the President's memorandum, 3 issues would expressly require referendum. Only one relating to the funds, especially CDF funds and the oversight fund, would not require referendum under Article 255(3).
Instead of writing memorandums to us, these are issues we can deal with. We can sit down as a country and agree that we want to go the route of constitutional amendment to introduce the official leader of opposition, to introduce cabinet secretary to come to parliament and become members of parliament instead of passing through the back door and escape routes.
Kenya Kwanza legislators have, however, dismissed the misgivings by their colleagues in Azimio, accusing them of reading too much and nothing.
This is not about testing water. These are issues that, according to the public, they are issues which are extremely important for the public good, and therefore must come out with somebody.
To imagine that executive operates differently from parliament, we cannot have a government or a country that is so disjointed. At some point, there must be order.
The MPs claim the constitutional changes being sought by the president will aid the smooth operation of parliament and structure the opposition formally.
Opposition has to operate from a position of law, so that we do not have the prerogative of the harlot. Power without responsibility. And when you're given an opposition position, because there are people who voted for you, you are expected to behave in a certain way.
This country does not require people to go on the street to do demonstrations. What it requires is structured opposition, an opposition that understands that they are part of this country, that they have to contribute in whatever manner in a constitutional way.
We have so many rulings that have been challenging the CDF. But if you look at the CDF to our society, to our people, to the Kenyan population, everybody is looking and praying that we continue to keep on CDF because it's supporting our people. But constitutionally, there are issues that has been raised about it.
With 30 members of the Jubilee Party having pledged closer working relations with the Kenya Kwanza regime, and 9 MPs from the opposition party ODM also being seen as warming up to President Ruto, the Kenya Kwanza MPs are keen on using their numerical strength to push the changes through.
I believe myself that even the suggestion of having the cabinet to come and answer questions on the floor of the House is something that we must continuously discuss.
The issue of gender rule is extremely critical because anybody can go to court and now start having problem with the parliament.
Is most welcome. And we shall support it in Parliament. And this is not about government and opposition. This is everybody who is here is going to support. Everybody who's in Parliament is in support of it, because we all want gender parity to be achieved. It is the Constitution that says that.
Now, 10 people were injured in a clash between rival motorcyclist groups, commonly referred to as border riders, on differences over a rally by Azimio la Umoja One coalition at Kisii Stadium, according to Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital Head of Emergency Services, that is Dr. Marita Oimeke. 2 of them sustained mild to moderate brain injuries, while others were attended to medically and then discharged.
These were scenes witnessed over the weekend in Kisii town after 2 rival motorcycle gangs clashed over the Azimio rally in the town. The group engaged each other with stones, and at the end, 10 people were injured and attended to at the Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital. 3 are critically injured.
Out of the 10,
7 had injuries, which were able to be treated and allowed home. 3 were fairly critical and had to be admitted.
The victims interviewed claimed the attackers had boasted of protection from influential individuals.
Kitu walikuwa nasema wakisema ati hawatambui serikali ya kaunti.
Wakiwa na mafimbo na panga wakaanza kututuanga tu. Wanatutuanga wakisema hawataki kuona watu wote wa gavana hapa, na wakifanya kitu yoyote hata kama watavunja hizo makio wachome, hakuna pali wanaweza pelekwa, wao serikali iko nyuma yao.
Before the chaos erupted, one of the leaders whose demonstration had been licensed, Fred Onunda, had addressed the media claiming that they had decided to defy Governor Simba Arati's advisory against holding the protest.
Na wewe uwezi kutuconvince yale maneno tunataka kufanya ati tusahau tuanze kukimbisha Raila. Kazi yetu ni kukimbisha wewe.
Kisii Governor Simba Arati, who visited those injured at the hospital, read malice in the whole scenario.
It's unfortunate that we can witness this, and I'm reliably informed that the gang which was attacking people with pangas and rungus were guarded by the police officers.
He called on the security apparatus to crack the whip on armed gangs which are slowly regrouping to cause chaos and destabilize his economic agenda for Kisii.
Now to matters health, where patients with broken limbs at the Thika Level 5 hospital are calling for government intervention following complaints of being held at the facility for months, waiting for non-existent bone plates. The affected patients claim that despite paying for the bone plates months ago, the facility has been hesitant to explain how soon they will be attended to. This comes amidst claims that the supplier had cut off the supply to the county due to accrued arrears.
A visit to Thika Level 5 hospital revealed a sorry state of affairs with broken limbs patients lying hopelessly on their beds. We engaged Sospita Kamotho, a patient who broke his leg 3 times and has a disjointed arm after he was involved in a motorcycle accident on January 16th this year, and narrates to us that he has been on pain medication patiently waiting for the bone plates, which he claims to have paid through the hospital.
Hiyo siku hakuna tuseme matibabu yetu nimekuwa na kipokea isipokuwa kuoshwa kidonda. Ofisi na understand chuma zilikuwa zimelipwa, lakini hospitali inasema hakuna chuma. So tunakaa hivyo tukigoja tu tuone kama pengine wataleta.
The situation is not different with Peter Karanja, another patient who says that since December last year, when he was admitted at the facility with assurance that the shipment has been placed, it has been almost 2 months with nothing forthcoming.
Tuliambiwa hakuna shuma, kuna procurement, kuna dealer ambaye wana supply. Walisema hajalipo.
Hatu serikali tu ituletea chuma huku. Itakuwa imefanya kitu ya maana sana juu bado tunaumia watu wengi sana.
The issue has prompted the intervention of Thika residents lobby group led by their chairman Paul Jomo, who termed the situation as shameful.
Kujeni muwasaidie watoke hapo na mkuje muwatetee, ndio maana mlichaguliwa. Na tunajua kazi yenu hiyo ndio jukumu lenu, mfanye kazi ile inawasaidi.
Sasa nyinyi na amelipa na mnamuitisha pesa amelipa. Pesa zake zilienda wapi? Na chuma amelipa. Anaambiwa siko kwa meli. Kwani meli inamaliza mwezi gapi?
This comes barely days after Thika Member of Parliament Alice Nganga gave a 5-day ultimatum to Governor Wamatangi to address the mess at the facility or face mass protest.
Let's have a look at news making headlines in the counties where Narok County Governor Patrick Ole Ntutu and Narok West Member of Parliament, that is Gabriel Ole Tongoyo, have differed sharply over a 10-year management plan of the Masai Mara Game Reserve. While Ntutu says the proposed plan will increase revenue in the county for the benefit of Narok residents. Tongoyo says this is just a scheme to benefit the governor and those around him. This and more stories coming up in our County News Roundup.
The proposed 10-year management plan of the Masai Mara is brewing a storm in Narok, pitting the Governor Patrick Ole Ntutu and Narok West MP Gabriel Ole Tongoyo. Ntutu says after public participation, residents agreed with 95% of the plan.
Ni plans ambazo ni mzuri kwa sababu itatuelekeza vile wakaaji wa hapa eneo ya Siana, Mara Ward na kwingineko wataweza kukaa pamoja na management ya county government ili wahakikishe ya kwamba wale ambao wanatoka ng'ambo kuja kuangalia wanyama wataweza kuangalia kwa namna ile ambayo inatakikana.
Meanwhile, stakeholders in the real estate sector have welcomed Land Cabinet Secretary Zachary Mwangi's commitment to ensure completion of the digitization of land services in the next 3 months.
You can do your search at any given time. You can look at you can also access the valuation of the land that you want to buy at any given time.
In Kakamega, one more body has been retrieved from the Sigalagala mines. The collapsed gold mines now bring to 4 the number of people who died in the accident, with 7 people surviving.
Watu walikuwa 11 kwa shimo, tumetoa wote 11, 4 wamekufa na 7 wangali hai na wako in stable condition.
In Kitui, construction of the Kila River NZU bridge is 50% complete, with the contractor Maurice Onyango promising to complete construction of the bridge on time if properly funded.
So far, the progress is not bad. We are still within, and in fact, we may even finish it before.
In Kajiado, police officers have been feted for their efforts in fighting crime in the region during the long December holidays. The public, through the local community policing unit in Kisii area, through a party for the police officers where a rallying call for interdependence between the public and the security agencies was made.
They are our brothers, our sisters, na lazima tuwaweke pamoja kwa sababu ndio pia wanatulinda usiku.
In Busia, a non-governmental organization has stepped in to support women living with HIV in the county.
Ombi letu kwa serikali ilete chakula kwa hospitali ambazo zinatutibu na nini, zinatupatia dawa za virusi ili hao watoto wanapopata dawa pia wapate chakula ya kukula.
Finally, in Nakuru County, governance experts have called on the board of directors of state-owned entities to clearly understand their role of oversight to add value to their organizations.
One of the most important things that we are emphasizing on is about the board being a strategic thinker, where they look at the policies of the farm and they are able to approve the recommendations which are made by the management.
Well, and on that note, let's take a breather, but I'll be back with more in the sports news in just a short while.
Listen up.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Engine.
How do we hear? How do we see? What makes up the air we breathe?
Let's go.
It's technology.
Let's go.
Science, you and me.
Let's go.
We're learning every day.
Let's ask, let's learn, and let's love.
I know
3, 2, 1. Jenny, 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 Jenny.
Talking about work with his dad? What's so urgent?
Jenny?
Oh, you're here.
Did I keep you waiting?
Not at all. I just arrived. Let's go in and sit.
Okay.
Jenny? Since when did you change your name to Jenny?
Sauti ya Kenya
92.9. Hii ni KBC Radio Taifa.
Kila kitu maishani kina sauti yaleta furaha.
Radio.
Sauti ya elimisha yahimiza yatuleta pamoja. Sauti ya Kenya
Radio Taifa.
Sauti ya Kenya.
Welcome back. Now, Egypt's Shakir hockey men's team was crowned the winner of the 2023 Mozart Bet Africa Cup 4-Club Championship after Ghana Exchequers were beaten 4-2 in the final match played at the Sikh Union here in Nairobi. Kenya's Butali Warriors finished second after defeating Nigeria Police 3-2 in the third-place playoff match. Butali is the only Kenyan men's team that managed a podium finish at the continental event after Kenya Police and Western Jaguars failed to make it past the group stage.
Butale Sugar Warriors are the 2023 Mozart Bet Africa Cup 4-Club champions, second runners-up after edging out Nigeria Police Hockey Club 3-2 in the third-place playoff match. The Warriors took an early lead through Ranasu Hail's successful corner conversion in the 8th minute of play. However, Sandy Godwin equalized the score for Nigeria Police through a field goal as the team ended their goal tally after halftime after converting their short corner and taking the lead with 2-1. However, Butali Warriors came back strong in the second half, netting 2 goals in the 53rd minute through Calvin Kanu's corners conversion and Festus Onyango's field goal in the 55th minute, giving them a 3-2 win at full time.
We had planned to play for the final, and as I said yesterday, we leave it in the hands of God. Yeah, but I'm so proud we took up bronze. At least we have something.
The tournament has been long, tough teams, all opponents have been good. When it comes to such a stage, you don't have much to say. The boys know what they need to do, and guys just dug deep, and you could see in the last quarter, we had to fight for it, and we did it.
In the ladies' competition, Kenyan teams performed dismally after finishing the event outside the medal bracket. Kisumu Lakers ladies ended their match with a goalless draw against Nigeria Delta Queens, while compatriots Strathmore University Scorpions ended their run in the tournament with a 3-0 loss to Ghana Revenue Authority. Blazers women lost 3-2 to Ghana Army in their last match of the tournament. Nora Mwangi for Legends Edition.
Now, Kenya's Charles Kipkurui and Irene Kimais were crowned the 2023 Barcelona Half Marathon champions after the two won their respective 21 kilometers race in Spain. Another Kenyan, that is Jacqueline Chelal and Gadisa Berhanu of Ethiopia, won the Sevilla full marathon that was held yesterday.
Charles Kipkurui and Irene Kimais set new course records on their way to winning their respective Barcelona half marathons. Kipkurui clocked 58 minutes and 53 seconds to win the men's 21-kilometer race, ahead of Birhanu Legese, who was second in 58 minutes and 59 seconds, as Solomon Kirayego finished third in 59 minutes and 29 seconds. Irene Kimais was the fastest woman in the half marathon in Spain, clocking 1 hour 4 minutes and 37 seconds, beating compatriot Jocelyn Jepkosgei, who settled for second position 9 seconds behind, while Catherine Relin finished in the bronze position in 1 hour 5 minutes and 39 seconds, just ahead of Genzebedi Baba. Jacqueline Chelal at the same time dominated and won the Sevilla Marathon in 2 hours 20 minutes and 29 seconds, beating the two Ethiopians who had targeted a 1-2 finish by more than a minute. Ethiopia's Aberu Ayana settled for second position in 2 hours 21 minutes and 54 seconds, as compatriot Diro Soboka finished third in 2 hours 23 minutes and 5 seconds. The men's 42-kilometer race was won by Gadisa Birhanu, who led a 1-2-3 finish for the Ethiopians. Birhanu crossed the finish line ahead of the rest in 2 hours 4 minutes and 59 seconds, beating compatriot Tulu Wami by 19 seconds. Ayenu Gebre, also of Ethiopia, was third in 2 hours 5 minutes and 23 seconds.
Well, that's where we end the news this morning. Thank you so much for taking the time to start your day with us here on Good Morning Kenya. Victor Law is on standby, and it promises to be an engaging conversation on politics. And remember to stay tuned in our later bulletins for more news updates. My name is Marie Ambo, wishing you a good day.
Perfect, welcome back. And now let me take you through the local newspapers here. I have got 4 papers. Thank you. Of course, I still already have my guest in studio getting introduced shortly. But let me start with the local dailies. I have got 4 papers. Let me start with the People Daily. Governors to share 385 billion shillings. Governors to share 385 billion shillings. CS Njuguna Ndungu sends new allocations to Parliament. Amount to 40 billion shillings less than what Council of Governors had asked for, and Lamu, Elgeyo Marakwet and Isiolo to get lowest amount if MPs pass revenue sharing plan. That is what's on the front page of the People Daily. Still there at the top, must sit back in hot seat as IBC tribunal resumes. Must sit back in hot seat as IBC tribunal resumes. Fireworks expected as Muchelule team starts hearing replying submissions in case against electoral commissioners. That is what's on the front page of the People Daily. Let me get you the details on that IBC hearing. Inquiry into the conduct of the Chirera folk, quote unquote, during the last general election enters home stretch starting today as the tribunal begins receiving submissions from the accused. Sources within the tribunal said that they were ready to start receiving replying submissions from the accused starting this morning. And tribunal was appointed by President William Ruto last year to investigate the conduct of former Electoral Commission Chair Juliana Chirera and 4 commissioners, Justus Nying'aya, Francis Wanderi and Irene Masit. My guest will help me to get in that shortly. Treasury allocates 385 billion shillings to devolved units next year. Treasury allocates 385 billion shillings to devolved units next year. Allocation is about 40 billion shillings less than the 425 billion shillings county governors have been agitating for. And however, Parliament will still has powers to vary the amount. But if National Assembly and Senate pass the recommendation without amendments, then the money will be disbursed starting July 1st. Remember, there have been lots and lots of meetings between the Treasury the executive and the county assembly and the county bosses on revenue share, on what they are supposed to be getting. All right, details shortly. Let me get you to the front page of the Star newspaper. Raila's confounding political game plan. Raila's confounding political game plan. Azimio has held over 10 rallies since January and visited 7 counties. But what is puzzling is that even close allies are not sure about ODM leaders' end game. I think this is the right time to bring in my guests to get me into this discussion. Starting with you, Mheshimiwa Peter Irungu. Good morning and Happy New Year. It's still okay to say Happy New Year. The last time we met was way back last year.
Yeah.
Karibu sana to the show.
Okay, thank you very much.
Raila's confounding game, political game plan, 10 so far, 7 counties, nobody knows the game plan, the end game.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. First of all, may I say hi to Kenyans and great members who are with me. A member for North Hall. Mandera South. That's Mandera South. Thank you, Mheshimiwa. Member for Mandera South. I think Raila being a person who has been in politics for long, and after losing the 2022 elections, he needs to create his relevance in politics. And therefore, one of the areas is that I think he wants to, first of all, strengthen his strongholds. And that's why you find most of his rallies he's doing in areas that they are perceived as his strongholds. Therefore, one thing I think he's doing is that he's trying to strengthen his stronghold and continue remaining as the relevant person in the ODM, and also as they used to call it as the Azimio, to be the leader in Azimio. Because if we could have delayed a bit, Kalonzo could have started up and maybe overtaken him. Because you see, they had been having a number of agreements whereby after he loses time, then Kalonzo will take up. And therefore, I think the wisdom that Raila is working out is to make sure he will be the candidate in 2027. Therefore, when he muzzles the communities, he muzzles the strongholds together, it will be very hard now for Kalonzo now again to come up and say that he will be the one who lead the troop.
Yes.
That will be running against His Excellency the President William Ruto. Therefore, is the wisdom I think he's working on, because he had not foreseen losing 2022. Therefore, he must plan now how he will be relevant between 2022 and 2027, and also become the main candidate for 2027 elections. Yeah.
All right. Mheshimiwa Abdul, what's your take on that?
I think, thank you once again. Pleased to be on the show again.
Karibu.
I think the game plan is very clear. One, looks like Honorable Raila wants to copy the script that was followed by His Excellency President Ruto in the last election. His Excellency President Ruto started campaigning for his, candidature very early in time, and that worked. And therefore, I think Raila is of the view that since that script worked, and the circumstances under which President Ruto popularized his campaigns look like are similar in terms of the context we are in today. Economic hardships, people frustrated because of joblessness and a lot of other difficulties. So perhaps in his game plan is thinking of capitalizing on these difficulties we have now as Kenyans and ratchet his agenda and make it difficult for the government that he doesn't recognize to govern. And therefore, His Excellency Honorable Raila has started his campaigns right now. Like you have rightly put it, he has had 10 rallies.
Yes, in 7 counties.
In 7 counties, and the message has been, similar throughout. You don't recognize this government. This government must, give up power. But let me tell you, the difficulties are there. Perhaps the game plan might succeed in a way in inciting Kenyans because of the difficult times we are in. But as they say, lightning never strikes same place twice.
Yes.
And that game plan, if the plan is to copy the script that Ruto had in the last election, it might not work perhaps for him going forward, because Kenyans have gone through that experience, and perhaps they also have an experience of what the outcome is, and they may not want to go, that populist path once again. But the game plan is to popularize his base, to focus on 2032, and to make it difficult to govern for the Kenya Kwanza government.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And when you look at how Raila has started his campaign immediately after election, it was like a month of some sort of break, even to the members of parliament. It was a month of break. People went for Christmas, and immediately after that, it was all systems go. Now, even Azimio MP said that they don't know Raila's game plan. A number of them are now visiting State House. At the end of the day, chances are it's only Raila who knows where he's headed. Your take on that?
I do not think that even Raila knows what he's doing. Generally, and with the benefit of hindsight, they say hindsight is 2020. If you look at how they've done in the past, I doubt he has got anything figured out. From how I see this is that first of all, this is an ambush recovery. The guys in the military will tell you that once you are in an ambush, there are only two ways: you disembark and fight back. You do not spare ammunition. And sometimes the only way you can survive is to outfire your enemy, because it's so difficult. Like Mheshimiwa has said, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga did not expect to lose in 2017 because he had everything working for him. In fact, in 2022, there is not an election William Ruto won. It's an election Raila lost. It's just that easy, as in he had everything working for him. So the former Prime Minister, I think, is into a loss management process, because everything is working so fast around him. He loses to William Ruto narrowly, yes, but then of course if you look at Parliament, of course William has got a majority. So even if Raila had won the presidential election, how would he have governed, for example? Because it becomes a little bit difficult and tricky at that. The Kenya Kwanza supporters in Parliament are quite idealistic about belonging to Kenya Kwanza. So it's not like people who just won. They believe in the hustler narrative, and movement is quite strong. So whatever Raila is trying to do has nothing to do with 2027. Largely at the moment, like I said, it's an ambush recovery. It's a loss management strategy for him to ensure that he doesn't just lose the presidency, and then he's also losing members of parliament and his foot soldiers. Remember that after the election, there were agitation of people going to the street. Never forget that. Yes. There are a lot of times we saw even tweets from verified communication on social media, including statements put out there that let us gather, let us try and do this. But the people were way past that. So he's trying to find his true north, because there is a way Raila will do things. So from where he is, I do not think that he has got the strategy figured out. But business people say that entrepreneurship is a factor of production. If you bring it down lower, it's a cohasol. You just be out there and probably something will hold. So whatever he's doing, I think he doesn't know how to deal with this thing called William Ruto and Kenya Kwanza. It's still a very slippery eel, but he's hoping that something will stick. So as he goes out there, when he says that wewe hautujui, you need to go and ask President Moi and the others. He's hoping that among his basket of tricks that he's done over the years, one of these things is going to work with William. But then William Ruto is then a student of Moi, he's a student of Raila Odinga, he's a student of Uhuru Kenyatta. So for me, I do not think that there is anything that is figured out. You can see his members of parliament walking away. Because, those are leaders. Yes. I always tell people that it's easy to actually look down on elected leaders until you try to run even for the chairman of a cattle dip. In this country, running for election,
their voice
even the one that looks like doesn't know what he's doing. he has got some strength and some abilities that an ordinary person, however educated you are, you might not actually be able to match up to it. So even those leaders, by the time you see them trying to walk and move into other spaces, they probably have already figured out and realized that there is probably not so much ground to hold on here.
Even Senator Cherargei says that Raila's eyes on 2027. Being a politician, probably somebody would say that he's also at the age of Biden, and Biden is 81, the United States, as we speak. So let's wait and see how it goes. On the front page of the Standard newspaper, Ruto takes on World Bank, IMF over loans. Ruto takes on World Bank and IMF over loans. Now the president asks lenders to lower rates of borrowing in line with climate change initiatives, since the current setup favors the West, who are the worst polluters, and punishes African countries that are climate change conscious. Of course, he was speaking in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Government supplies neck deep in poverty. Contractors who do business with both the national and county government face uncertain times as officials delay or refuse to pay bills owed to them. A very big problem there in the county government. And of course, we still have got, on the front page, we have got photo there of Honorable Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka with the Wiper leaders. Yesterday, he said that the government has been using different government machineries to lure or to woo Wiper legislators into the Kenya Kwanza. Will that work? And finally, on the Daily Nation, big class divide in junior high. Big class divide in junior high. The pioneering CBC class has joined junior secondary school in grade 7. And now the big class divide in junior high. There's an issue of shortage of teachers. There's congestion, facilities, that is inadequate facilities, and training of teachers. And of course, schools lament that most of the newly posted graduate teachers lack skills to teach the competence-based curriculum. Of course, there was that presidential working committee that was mandated to get the views from Wananchi, and here we are. Still on the front page of the Daily Nation, rebel MPs to form anti-Raila liberation group, quote-unquote liberation group. Rebel MPs to form anti-Raila liberation group. Azimio la Umoja One Kenya leader Raila Odinga is facing a fresh rebellion in his Nyanza backyard as alleged rebel legislators mull for the formation of a liberation group, quote-unquote a liberation group, to cut him down to size with the help of President William Ruto's administration. The name has reportedly been coined to symbolize plans to liberate the region from the grip of Odingas. Let me take a break at that point. We'll be back with more and get to the discussion after this. See you shortly.
Okay, unajua ni vile uelewi ile kitu inatendeka.
Oi. Nguvu za giza zilimharibu. Na nilijua hii maneno yote ilikuwa imepangwa. Mama uangamizi. Chokonia wacha ngweresi na usike vizuri. Unajua si ati tuwachui, mnataka kuharibia hoteli Siba. Wewe mwenyewe ukichangalia hata mwili yako. Mara ya mwisho ulikunywa tawa ya milioni lini? Mama Kayai! Okay, hoponyaji. Enkai, mama Kayai. Moponyeshe, hii pande isikana na hii pande. System yake yote ya mwili irudi vile nataka kuwa. Hebu niondoke. Mimi shika njia uende zako.
Abantu ba mintombi ya more.
Your favorite Kisii station, Minto FM, is now at your doorstep. Enjoy the hottest Kisii music, informative and entertaining shows, and reliable news only on Minto FM. Tune in to Minto FM on 91.7 FM in Nyamira, Kisii and its environs.
Minto FM,
Finally found you, my darling. How about taking the day off to celebrate that things worked out so well for us? Take the day off and go to town to walk around and eat something. What do you think?
Why didn't you tell me the truth, Reynaldo?
I didn't say anything about what.
Why didn't you tell me that the person who rescued me on the beach wasn't you, but Ruben? Tell me!
And in any case, Denora, my only advice to you is for you to always remain at Rodrigo's side. Don't abandon him. Don't stay far from him and give him all the attention he needs.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I know my story, but I'm telling you to keep her in sight. In fact, I can assure you that she needs your support right now. She needs it very, very much.
Enjoy a selection of the best. Regina Ray and Tingazi.
Bado hujamwambia unamlike. Umerealiza jamwachilia mkono kutoka nikuje hapa.
Love blossoms in Mexico with the Trier sisters in Las Bandidas.
I beg you, please don't go.
I want you to be the happiest man in the world with a woman who appreciates and respects you.
An array of music rave.
Make me lie when I don't want to.
Blues.
You are my everything.
Two local gems. And we sit to chat with the Diambo.
You know, I can't even tell whether you're looking at me, seeing me. With the Louis Vuitton.
Classic comedy.
Makono tu.
Say that again.
Enjoy the Divas programming this February only on KBC Channel 1. Kenya's watching.
All right, welcome back. Okay, so there are two newspapers here. The Star newspaper and the Daily Nation. They have almost a similar story here. Raila's confounding political game plan, and the Nation has it that ODM rebels to form anti-Raila group. Let me start with you, Honorable Irungu. At the end of the day, we have got two headlines and stories almost the same. What do you make of this? ODM rebels to form anti-Raila group. Let me start with that.
One thing I think to allude is that the leaders from Nyanza, I think somehow now they are becoming tired. They feel now they need to bring up a new breed of leadership, especially a young leader. And Raila has stuck in that position. And that's why you could see in his rallies there are critical people who are missing. One thing, as we are saying, as our analyst has put it, is that even Raila himself cannot give clearly what is his plan, a game plan, whereby he can give a sequence of plans where he wants to get to. Therefore, he has not explained what he's doing even to his people. But one thing, after having Raila in control of Nyanza or that region for that long, I think some leaders are now feeling they need to create their own way. And that's why you see some leaders are ready to risk their political life, especially those who are working together with the government. Mostly, I know they are working for the government mostly to see how their people can also benefit, but also they want that freedom. The control Raila has had also has taken too long. And if I was Raila, this is the best time to come up with a new leader a young leader from his region, or if not from his region, from his party, that he can nurture to face Ruto maybe in 2027 or 2032. But if he continues to remain the leader, that is he wants the leaders to take control of the party and also to be the presidential candidate in 2027. The fatigue now, I think, is developing with leaders from that region. And that's why I think they want to create their own path, which I know is a very hard thing they are trying to work out. It will not be easy. It will not be easy with Raila, whom we know, the way the locals just trust in him. But I think it starts with people who are confident, maybe to liberate their people, because chances for Raila to run against Ruto and win in 2027, they are very minimal.
They are very minimal.
They are very minimal.
And when you look at, it is not the first time such groups are being formed. It's not the first time people are going against Raila. Raila has got following across the country. When you go to Mombasa, Northeastern, he has support from across the country. But his backyard, Nyanza region, we've seen people forming groups even in the past to oust him as the kingpin, quote unquote, of Luo Nyanza. Will this work this time around?
I think forming groups against Raila so that he can relinquish his kingship is a strategy that always ends up in water, for the simple reason that Raila was not made by anyone to become a kingpin of that particular region. If we would look at history, and history is very, very important, is that he fought his way up. There were even being Jaramogi's son did not favor Raila, because at the time Jaramogi died, Raila was just one of those people in Ford Kenya at that particular time. Orengo actually looked much better than him. The Anyang' Nyong'os of this world were actually the stars of this particular country.
Yes.
And it took Raila fighting hard.
And do you know at some point they lost their seats?
Yes.
Right.
He fought long and hard to actually ascend to that particular position. So, if the quote-unquote liberation movement in Nyanza is going to be fashioned around the person of Raila, then it is wrong, because from where we are, there's what I love to call the demographic imperative, that today you then realize that there is a generational handover.
Yes.
It's happening whether you like it or not. It's a generational handover. It's a demographic imperative that a newer generation of people, because naturally the conveyor belt that is life has got attrition at the tail end of it, that people check out. Mwai Kibaki is now gone. Those were the stars of the politics that have been there. Raila is also at that particular end. You can actually bring in the Biden aspect, yes, but still, who are the majority voters? Today, the biggest voting bloc are actually what you would call the millennials. But behind the millennials, there is another young generation. That particular generation of what you call the Generation Zers are also fast getting into the age of majority. So targeting it as an anti-Raila campaign is wrong. If they actually try to look at it from a generational handover, it will work easily. But then there are some obvious questions that you need to look at. Number one is that when you see what is happening initially, that will not happen easily.
Yes.
It is because Baba's invincibility is now being questioned. Why is Baba's invincibility? Because Kitambo, they would just say, Baba knows best. If Baba tells us to go west, we ask him, how far west can we go? If Baba says we are going to the east, we will ask him, how far east can we go? But if Baba is always right, Baba knows best. They've realized that in 2022, even when they had the state, and Baba knew it well, they still lost. So people are now questioning his invincibility. They are asking and questioning his position. And that is the good position. Where especially young people in that particular region need to start asking, not to make this campaign about Raila, but simply to be about a society or a community that is moving forward. What is their stake in the future? What is their stake in tomorrow? But if they make it a Raila debate, Raila remains relevant today, by the way. Victor, let me just surprise you. He remains relevant because there is a generation of young people in this country. And when I talk about young people, are people in their 50s and 40s and 30s who have refused to stand up in that particular position. He is filling a void that exists in nature, abhors a vacuum. So he is only relevant because a generation of younger people have refused to stand up. Because why else would we be calling out a 77-year-old man that he is not actually doing his work, that he is not defending us much better? When he started doing these things, he even ran for president for the first time in his 40s. So there is a generation that has refused to stand up, and that is why he remains relevant. So all this particular drama around it should be fashioned about people standing up to do work. That particular work will ensure that he just faces out.
Okay. You know the history of Kangema. You're a member of Kangema constituency.
Yeah.
When you talk of Kangema, do you feel the heat of feeling, being in that shoe of the people who, came before you?
Yeah. There's the heat of feeling the shoe of Michuki.
How does it feel being in that position, members of parliament, when you go back on that board and you see he was here, and now you're here?
Yeah, thank you. One thing is that you try to watch his roots. You try to fit in how he used to do things.
Yes.
And somehow it becomes a bit difficult. But also we have to try the best we can to be fair to say, even if you cannot make it, you have to try to work out. Like Michuki had a lot of impact nationally and also on the ground. Therefore, mostly the most important thing is first of all to try to fit him on the ground. As you try now to show visibility he had in the national politics. But one thing I want to say is that people are ready to accept some of us as young leaders. They are ready also to build us, as you can see how Keharu have done. They are nurturing a leader who can now fit to the status of Matiba. And also for us, the most important thing is to work with our people and also to be very closely associated with them and walk the talk of the national politics, that you may not be invisible in the national politics. That's where also we are trying to fit. And also, as we fit, also we are trying not to step on those who are ahead of us.
Right.
Because also some of our leaders have lost their positions because they have been seen like there are leaders who came around 2007. They tried to outshine Michuki, and most of them lost. Even Peter Kenneth lost on that era. We had Bao, we had Kamaina. Most of the leaders from Murang'a lost me.
And talk about Kangema and Murang'a, we have got big names from
they
that
tried
region.
to outshine Michuki.
Yes.
Therefore, we work as we try also to fit on his status. We are very careful. We are very careful also to watch on the leaders who are ahead of us. Even though they might be young like Dede, we are also trying to work together with them so that we may not step on them, because also the experience is also better than
Mheshimiwa Kore, the reason why I've asked him that question, when you hear the names of Michuki of this world, you at some point step back and go back and get that book that they used to read, the book, the instructions, and the, what kind of road they use to govern. And now it's not about Kangema, it's national. When you go to Siaya, you'll hear Michuki rule still reigns today. All right? Now, when you hear that and now you see such kind of rebels being formed against Raila Odinga, will it really work? Because according to Maliba, he fought his way up. And forming a group, sometimes with 5 years to go, might take a very long time for you to convince people that we are the alternative group against Raila Odinga, who has been there since 1960s and 70s.
Yeah, I think I agree with my colleague, my friend Maliba, that it will be an uphill task for the rebel MPs to at least make an impact in the direction they are taking as far as Raila is concerned. One, I think, again, I can see some kind of people trying to read some kind of scripts. You see, when the MPs from Central Kenya rebelled against Uhuru in his last term, hoping that, he will not have any influence anymore on them because he's going out anyway. I think that's the mindset some of these rebel MPs are having, that Raila might not contest again.
Uhuru Kenyatta was exiting the stage.
Exactly. They also think Raila is exited because of the age and the many years he has tried.
Yes.
And they think perhaps somebody like Kalonzo or Karua will not allow him to run again when they are still there. They will do what the Mudavadis and the Wetangulas did in the last election. So the other thing, I think, why it is not why we are in the situation we are in, and there is this question of rebels against Raila, is the fact that you see, we also have a new crop of young leaders in 13th Parliament. People who have realized actually the constituents, the people who elected them, have a much more say on their future politically than anybody else. And that's why you'll see Jalango coming out and saying, if I don't attend Raila's rally and I take water to the people of Langata, they will not mind so much about why I did not go to Raila's rally, so long as I've gotten water from the CS water and brought the water to them. So that kind of discourse where and the context which is changing, where the MPs have learned. Actually, by the way, the current parliament is I think the first parliament where members who are seated in the 12th parliament, almost 50%, more than 50% came back.
Yes.
And when you ask them why they came back, is they're telling you is that they connected more with their constituents. The other problem I'm seeing in the whole thing is the void we have created in the 2010 constitution, where a person who's the second best candidate in our presidential election does not have a room in participating in the governance of this country.
Yeah.
That is why we are trying to create to cure that through the constitutional amendment we are looking at now, creating the office. Yeah, he's saying no to, but we're not doing it for Raila. We're doing it for posterity. We've realized there's a lacuna
but
there.
Even for posterity, Mheshimiwa, before you continue with the discussion, how possible is that? I mean, even in future, when you have an office of the opposition, what would be the net effect in the political landscape?
You see, right now, the opposition has a person called the leader of the minority in the House.
Yes.
This is somebody who's elected from a single constituency. But there is somebody here, Raila, who's got 6 million votes from all over the country, and he cannot be in the House to rally his troops. Become an effective opposition in the House. I think the net effect is that there will be somebody who has got a more national appeal, who will be leading the opposition. It is good for our democracy. It is good for the opposition in the country.
Okay, but even as you respond, what if Raila has a game plan known to him? Because in law they call him Agwambo. Agwambo is something quite mysterious. You just see it happens. How it happened, it's like lightning. All of a sudden it comes, it appears, and it's gone. What if that game plan is known to him and then later on it surfaces?
If Raila has got a game plan, in my opinion, that will actually probably shake the ground and shift the or rather where we are going as a country, then it would be that he's riling the base, calling his troops to parade, and then going across the country to ensure that all his troops are actually, like I said, to parade, and then he hands over to somebody else, for example, Kalonzo. But I have got a different opinion on what Mheshimiwa says, that if somebody who's gotten votes across the country, then is the leader of opposition in the House, probably then it's different. Me thinks that a lot of times we really misconstrue that. Raila became a very effective leader of opposition after in the post-202 setting, when he wasn't, he was not on the ballot for anything except for Member of Parliament in what was Langata then.
Yeah.
So this is about leadership, because we have got an example of a man who was number 2 in the elections, was expected to be a very effective leader of opposition, but he joined government. That person was Uhuru Kenyatta. Uhuru Kenyatta joined Mwai Kibaki after 2007, and he went down and dissipated, even though he found his ways of coming back under very different conditions. Yeah. But then the oversight that is supposed to be offered by a leader just because he had votes coming with him, Uhuru Kenyatta wasn't very effective as a leader of opposition, by the way. Yet he had people who voted for him. So you can still have somebody who has been, who's actually voted for, and doesn't provide the leadership that is expected in for a leader of official opposition. What we have a problem is that we have got parties. Our parties are still personality cults. We've really not institutionalized politics. I am hoping that probably UDA would actually properly become a political party where you can institutionalize politics. But then you see somebody who's given the leader of minority in the House, sometimes might not be as appealing, not that particular person who the members of parliament sat down and elected that particular person amongst themselves, and they say so and so will be our leader. There is always has to be one person who is the first among others.
Yes.
So I still think that that particular void will not be solved. That problem will not be solved simply by bringing whoever has become. Because as we do that, we have got a template that we are working with, and that template is Raila Odinga.
Okay.
If Raila Odinga is not there tomorrow, would things still work the way they were? Michuki, for example, just a moment, when Michuki was the Minister for Transport, he was very effective. So people thought, okay, if Michuki has worked well, Ali Chirao Makwere can come in and still work well. Then the guy shows up and he tells us after a month or two that I also have got a matatu, I cannot do those same things. So if we are going to make policies and laws with a template and a background, or rather a background being a personality in it, we will get it wrong. What happens if then the next person is different and just wants to join government and make merry, for example?
That could be maybe some people's. Mheshimiwa Kora, I can see you shaking your head, but Mheshimiwa, give me a picture. 2 months to election, 2027.
Yeah.
With Raila in the picture. Fast forward 5 years from now.
5 years.
2 months to an election. We know how political landscape in Kenya can shift within an hour. Things can change.
Yeah.
But with the political landscape as it is right now, with President William Ruto, commanding a majority now in parliament, and things still moving pretty fast. 2 months to an election, 2027.
Yeah, 2 months to the election. One thing we must understand is that William Ruto is not an easy person to go in a political arena. And I know for now he's cool because he's trying to bring up the country, to set the economy, and he cannot be, he is not ready to be drawn to the politics that Raila is doing. But as we get to 2027, I know Ruto will have planned his campaign for his re-election. And one thing we must understand is that I'm not looking at it again as Kalonzo will be ready also to risk now behind Raila. I know he might try to come up with his own way of coming up as the person, the presidential candidate for Azimio or whatever will be there then. One thing I think is that it will not be as easy as they may think, because I know the current president will have muscled a lot of people around him. Most of the people from Central Kenya, I wish, and I'm looking forward that he will maintain the support from Central Kenya. And the other area that can be an advantage for Azimio, if there will be the people from Central Kenya will start now outshining each other to take up the position of deputy president. But if they stick with one person, if they stick behind Gachagua, and there is no division between the leadership in Central Kenya, the bloc for Central Kenya will be rallied again towards William Ruto. And also the politics of 2027 will carry now who will be the successor for Ruto.
Yes.
Therefore, it will have a lot to talk about who will Ruto support in 2032 after the election. Therefore, those are some scenarios that I'm trying to look at. But one thing we must agree is that Ruto will work out anything he can do to make sure he's re-elected. Raila, at that time, I don't know whether he will be tired, because driving a campaign, whatever he's doing, to sustain it for 5 years is very cumbersome, tiresome. It will wear him out.
Somebody said that Raila will wear out if he doesn't go to a campaign trail. If he doesn't campaign, now that's what weighs him down. He needs to be there.
Politically, Raila will wear out if he's not doing anything.
Yes. Exactly.
But then we see how he struggled in the campaigns in 2022. He couldn't catch up with the pace that William Ruto had actually set. You know, campaigns are draining. Let no one lie to you. Anyone who's actually been on a campaign trail,
here will tell you how crazy it can get.
You can wake up in the morning and feel like, no, I just don't want to go. Everything is there. Not that you have got anything that is less. You've got the transport, you've got the resources, you've got a message and everything else, but it's not still easy. Anyway, be that as it may, I just needed to say this. That Azimio is not that particular vehicle that will remove William Ruto. Azimio is not the future that actually, Azimio is not in the future of this country. It's not. That is not.
Most definitely something will happen along the way.
And the person who then replaces William Ruto has to come from behind him. So, whatever happens, William Ruto's successor is not in Azimio, cannot be in the vehicle that is Azimio. Azimio can only just be the John the Baptist of this particular process, making the way. But from where I sit and how I look at it, you know, if you're going to understand our politics at the moment, it's like trying to understand the business model in Kisii.
Yes.
You need a PhD in chaos theory. As in, from how it looks like, it's impossible to actually see Raila Odinga being the replacement for William Ruto. Ever since the dynamic duo that is William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta happened in 2013, it's going to take a little bit of time for an older person than the sitting president to take after him.
Okay. Wishmua, you were shaking your head as Maliba was speaking.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're shaking your heads about, but then
I really don't want to go back to that debate because he was concentrating on the numbers.
It's an open forum.
I wasn't looking at the numbers. I'm not saying because Raila has 6 million votes, that's why he will. No, it's about the office, the office of the leader of the opposition in the House, and it doesn't necessarily have to be Raila.
Yeah.
Now it is Raila because we are talking about him having been the second best candidate in the last election. So that one I don't want to dwell very much on it. But on your other question as to whether 2 months to the elections with Raila keeping the pace is keeping what happens. I think I agree with my friend again that Azimio most probably is not going to be the vehicle to remove and if the game plan for Raila is countering the hustler narrative,
right,
and demolishing it, then I think the hustler might be a little bit disoriented now because of the economic situation. But 2 months to the elections, I can assure you that hustler will be a very happy hustler in the Kenya Kwanza government. A lot of things would have changed, the economy would have improved, and the hustler would be a happy person to vote William Ruto again.
Yes. Yeah. What do you think President William Ruto will have to do again 2 months to an election that is going to change the entire landscape? Because Raila is now doing to undo what happened, because he was given that band of this serikali of him and President Uhuru Kenyatta. They spoiled the government, all manner of things happened. So what is he going to do to undo that tag?
I think the moment William Ruto succeeds in the legislative agenda he has now for the country, the policies and the plans he has, housing, UHC, and creating jobs and improving the economy. The moment all those policies succeed in the span of the 5 years, the William Ruto we know, the vibrant politician in him we know, the active politician in him we know, and the age is also with him. He's a very brilliant politician. Definitely, he's now concentrating on improving the economy and making sure all the policies that his government had in its agenda promised to the Kenyans are done according to the way it is supposed to be done. So 2 months to the elections, William Ruto just has to make sure he reflects Kenyans back on the promises he made to them, and show them how he has fulfilled those promises to Kenyans, and he will be riding very smoothly.
Before we take a break, do you think the pressure is on President?
Yeah?
The pressure was on him right now?
The pressure?
Yes, 10 rallies in 7 counties.
Yeah. No, you can't ignore. Like even me, I can't ignore when I hear the person who was next to me in Kangema is walking around there doing rallies, doing meetings. You can't ignore. You can't ignore.
What would you do? Will you call him like, Mheshimiwa Kore, just come?
Now, that's why now the Ruto plan is that he don't want to walk the Uhuru way, the Uhuru route whereby Uhuru called Raila and they settled together. The Ruto want to destabilize Raila by calling his troops, and he's appealing to the troops, because I think the politics of Kenya has been mostly the Kikuyism also has been made the people from Nyanza and those areas to be extremely resistant. But whenever the Ruto seems a bit friendly to them, they feel comfortable working with him. And that's how maybe he's working out. What Ruto will do is to destabilize Raila by working with his troops and making his roots a bit weak. But the chances of Ruto calling Raila to settle their ground is almost zero.
Okay.
It's almost zero here.
I will ask you this question, Arnold, but answer me after this break. He's called Raila's troops to his bracket. Will he sustain for the next 5 years? Because as politicians, they know themselves, they know how they operate, they know the book. I think you people have your own constitution, what you do. Something that we don't know. You have your own constitution, perhaps you'll share with us. But will the president maintain those guys for the next 5 years? If it doesn't, what will be the end game again for the president? Let's take a break. We'll be back with more. I also want to talk about the issue of the North, Mheshimiwa. Your neighbors are suffering, and we have got the Jeshi on the other side. We'll talk much more of that. And as well, the tea in Kangema.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
More when you come back after this break. Stick around.
Listen up.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Engine.
How do we hear? How do we see? What makes up the air we breathe? Let's go. It's technology. Let's go. Science, you and me. Let's go. We're learning every day.
Let's ask, let's learn, and let's love. And don't forget to make it fun.
3, 2, 1. Jenny.
Talking about work with his dad? What's so urgent?
Jenny,
Oh, you're here.
did I keep you waiting?
Not at all. I just arrived. Let's go in and sit.
Okay.
Jenny? Since when did you change your name to Jenny?
When I don't think you're Puna Moranga. Shoro FM. Wenyere Nanyuki. Shoro FM. Naikuru Naivashanya Hururu. Shoro FM. Motari Mohoro Ona Nyebo. Shoro FM. Odi Kereria. Modi Kereria.
All right, welcome back to the final stretch now of this discussion. Let's now flip pages and talk about something different. The banditry that has affected the country for quite a number of years now is something that is close to the president's heart. And a couple of days ago, the Kenya Defense Forces were sent to the volatile region, the 6 counties there, to battle the rebels. But even as we speak, a number of people have been killed and bandits are still raiding different counties in those particular areas. So let me just ask the members of parliament here, the minister or the CS responsible for interior, that is Kithure Kindiki, gave that order that the president gave that order that the armed forces to be there, but of course they're just going to act as a backup to that particular region. Let me start with you, Mheshimiwa Kore. Now that they are your neighbors, perhaps you must be feeling the heat of people crossing from one county to another.
First of all, let me tell you, if you know the geography of Kenya very well, the people in the northwestern part of the country, that is Turkana, Pokot, Samburu, They are much more closer to 3 international countries: Ethiopia, Sudan, Uganda.
Yes.
And definitely, just like they normally cross when they are looking for pasture and water, under these circumstances, lots of people will run away from the operation area and cross to Uganda, cross to South Sudan, or cross to Ethiopia. And some will also cross to different counties in Marsabit and Isiolo as they run away from the military. And let me tell you, this military operation we are seeing now is timely and most welcome. We have seen bandits become, emboldened. Before the president ordered the military to go there, what happened? You see bandits coming in their numbers on the main highway, shooting passenger vehicles, killing students going back to school. And there was no way the government will sit and watch that happens, And therefore the military operation, first of all, is timely and it is most welcome. And these people called bandits, actually, I agree with Kindiki Kithure that they are not bandits anymore.
Yeah.
They should be called for what they are. They are terrorists because they are terrorizing the innocent people in that region. They are terrorizing people traveling those roads, and they are terrorizing, they are burning schools, they are burning villages, they are stealing stocks. And therefore, those ones, we call them terrorists because they're using unlawful violence and they're intimidating the whole population in that area. And if we have a government, which we have, and government, existing for what it does, then it has to deal with this problem now decisively, now once and for all. And I don't think there will come a president, I'm not sure there will come a president who has got that golden opportunity to end this problem today, like President William Ruto. He comes from the region, he's got pastoralist links, he's a pastoralist himself, and he understands this politics around the northwestern and the conflicts of pastoralists in that region very well. If we don't do that, an industry called livestock industry is almost being brought to its knees. And what does the livestock industry does for Kenyans? The livestock industry, I know many Kenyans will not understand this because they don't give it a lot of attention. The livestock industry gives us 13% of our GDP.
That's a huge number.
It's a huge number. And it gives us 50% of agriculture labor force. And believe you me, a fifth of Kenya's population, 10 million people, live in the Asal counties where we rear this livestock. So if we leave these bandits, cause havoc the way they have caused havoc for many years, what they are doing, they are affecting our economy, they are affecting the education sector, they are affecting the transport sector, they are affecting the business, especially now that we are having lots of economic difficulties and people are trying to make use of the little they have to make a living, and they are making it very difficult for our people. There is very serious drought, a drought that has spanned from 2020 to date, and drought is already terrorizing these people. And then these bandits appear and they use,
Arnold, when you look at, we're in 2023.
Yeah.
The rest of Kenya is peaceful. People are going to school. It's then let's just cut the 6 counties to a different region. The rest of the country is moving forward in terms of development. People are talking about taxes. People are talking about kids going to school and jobs and what have you. But at this particular time of the year, we are still talking about bandits raiding counties, raiding homes. And when they do away with the 2,000 heads of cattle, these animals never get found.
When we are looking at banditry, it doesn't matter whatever year we are in. This thing speaks to very basic stuff that we don't want to address. That is livelihood. I wanted to call it the economy, but the economy has got a lot of cores and a lot of states. So it can get very complicated when you start doing that, and then it looks like it's a lot of English. It's about livelihoods. People are simply trying to eke out a livelihood the best way they can, and how they can actually survive in that particular environment they are in. If we are going to take care of this particular issue, it's about redesigning the economy. William Ruto, by the way, from where I see it, might not be able to effectively fight banditry because unlike he thinks that because he comes from that particular area and he is a pastoralist himself, he might actually be the best person to do it. The best person to deal with banditry will have to be somebody who does not come from that particular area. The way Kenyatta, not being a northerner, was able to effectively deal with the shifters. It wasn't an easy fight. It's taken so long. But you see, the policies that were put in place, it had to take somebody who is far removed from it. He might not have dealt with it effectively. That is why I do not think that for a long time, by the way, I work in Somalia. So I could actually have a word or two when it comes to employing kinetics, the military bit of it. In the north of Somalia, soft power is working now, where the people are joining SNA, that's the Somali National Army, to effectively beat Al-Shabaab. And Al-Shabaab is actually on the retreat from the north going south. Probably in the next 90 days or about 120 days or so, we could have a firefight in the south because now Al-Shabaab doesn't have a house to stay in the north. It's taken years to build a soft power strategy that brings people on the side of reading from one end. Here, and Mheshimiwa correctly gets it, we no longer need to call these guys bandits. That is terrorism. I asked somewhere where a number of members of parliament were why we've never considered using the terrorist laws, the laws against the laws.
We should use it.
Actually,
in fighting
a couple
this,
of legislators have been calling that this should
and then of course people had a lot of legalese on what applying those laws here would be. But if you look at the laws against, or rather the laws on prevention of terrorism, banditry fits within the definition of that particular thing. You do not need to lift anything.
But why is it now
for political reasons, that's why you get it. But for political reasons, we do not want to go this side. So, deploying the military is short term. Kinetics can never be the long-term solution to such like an issue. We have got the Lemi Triangle. He spoke about it. Uganda on the other side, there's Sudan, there's Ethiopia, and then there's Somalia on the other end. The politics around that particular end, there are a few things people might not be willing to say. You know, Kenya for the last 50 years has had a silent policy, and no one, including them, will accept this, has had a silent policy of arming Turkanas. That is a silent policy, so that it's the first bulwark against any invasion, because we've had threats in that particular area. If you are a person who understands, the same way, people wouldn't want to say it loudly, and even the state wouldn't want to say it, but strategically, the people who are in charge of national security have a way of ensuring that the borders that we have got a problem with are armed in a way. People will say it's the dynamics. Probably there is the incursion, left, right, and center from the other side. But that is a silent policy. There is somehow we've allowed that to work. Why do I say that? Look at the Sabaot Land Defense Forces.
It was crushed.
Totally.
Right.
Everywhere. Sometimes when Busia was misbehaving, where the state does not want arms to exist, the state gets away with it.
And perhaps that is why we have got police reserves in such regions, but not arming them.
Let me tell you, you see, if Kisumu would be one bad place. It's a border county. But because you cannot trust an armed Kisumu, you wouldn't get to go somewhere. So let me just finalize by saying this, that it's going to take a bit of time, and I am hoping that the people who are designing the intervention into this thing would actually look at the long term and not just short term. Because there's another challenge here. The area in which the bandits operate is actually half the size of Uganda. So even if you took 1,000 men there, 2,000 military men there, it will not be effective. And then just tell me...
That is, Maliba, that is heartbreaking.
I'm just saying, in the long run...
That is heartbreaking. Before you come in,
Mheshimiwa really wants to say this because he comes from that particular area. But if you've worked in a conflict area, you realize one thing, that sometimes we have to be realistic. Talk about short term, mid term, and long term.
Okay, Mheshimiwa.
I think, first of all, let me say, it's an insult to the people of Northeastern to say what Kenyatta did during the shifter era was a success. Killing people, poisoning wells so that livestock die, and creating the poverty that we see today in Northeastern, calling it a success, that's an insult to the people of Northeastern. Secondly, it is the shoe wearer who knows where the shoe pinches. So, for a long time, the war on terrorism, particularly in Kisii and in many Somali regions, did not work because the government was not even able to get proper intelligence until they recruited Somali intelligence officers who could give them real whatever. So I still maintain His Excellency President William Ruto, knowing the context very well, coming from that region and being a pastoralist himself, stands the best chance to deal with this problem once and for all. Now, these bandits, they don't know any other God. The only God they understand is more firepower than the power they have. And that is why the military needs to go in very heavy-handedly on the. Of course, some collateral damage will happen on innocent people, innocent civilians, innocent villagers. But that's the only way to deal with these bandits. I am one person who suffered the problem of insecurity from where I come from. My constituency borders Somalia.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of insecurity issues time and again, people coming, placing IDs on our roads, people coming and, shooting vehicles that move. So we know the cost of insecurity and what it has done to our people and the development of our region. Right now, we don't have teachers in Northeastern. We don't have medics in Northeastern because these buggers who are causing insecurity in our region have made it impossible for Kenyans from other parts of the country to come and work in that region. And therefore, when I talk about this, I talk from a very passionate point that something must be done because those people in northwestern Kenya are really suffering underdevelopment for many years. We've always said we are marginalized. And this marginalization all the time revolves around insecurity. Okay. And this insecurity is within us.
That bill did not pass through Parliament. It was a direct direction from the President, and which was effected by the Minister Interior. And now we have got the military. Do you think it's going to work out this time around?
One thing is we are saying that the military presence might be short-term, but now we need a long-term solution for those areas. And as he's putting it, we had Mount Elgon, about
defense
forces
by Matakwe.
Yeah,
yes.
Which were led by Matakwe. The first person they dealt with was Matakwe. They dealt with leadership. We had Mongeke in central Kenya, which was growing very much and was very powerful. Michuki dealt with the leadership of Mongeke, and people started disappearing. And he said it. It was very painful to most of our parents, and people complained a lot, but that's how they dealt with Mongeke. And now,
peaceful now, Mheshimiwa.
No, it's peaceful. Mongeke ilisha kabisa.
Right.
Yeah, even in central Kenya. Now, what we want to say, Atakama, they are small cells, they are just hiding. Now, when we get to northeastern, on the areas allowed Pokot,
yes.
South, wherever.
That's northwestern.
Northwestern.
They must first of all deal with the leadership, because these things of banditry is able to strive because some of the leaders in those areas embrace them. And I think, and most of the people who have maintained in the leadership is because they use it as a tool to make their people feel in their absence they will not be able to have the peace, they will not feel protected. Therefore, I think also we must still work out on leaders who are entrenched in it, and they are known. They are known completely. If we shy off trying to hide behind the scene that we don't want to be seen, we are fighting, we just want to embrace them, this thing will never end until we manage and deal with the leadership.
Yes.
It's about when it was dealt with Matakwe and his team, ilisha na ikaisha kabisa. In northeast, in the Pokot areas, those areas around Turkana, wherever, those leaders must be dealt with decisively.
Mheshimiwa, you'll agree with me that members, some of your colleagues who sit in the legislative assemblies have been summoned by the DCI over and over and over again. Right now, on the front page of the Star newspaper, is still also written there that MP Kosin's chopper grounded as police probe links to banditry. That is just what a story. And of course, he was arrested, was it last week, and he was taken to DCI. He was summoned and all that. But still, we've seen members of parliament, not local wananchi, not common wananchi you'll meet on the streets. They're people who are able. How are we going to deal with such kind of elements? Because at the end of the day, when you want to kill a snake, you start hit the head, as you correctly put it.
Hit the head, yeah.
Go ahead, in 1 minute.
In 1 minute, what I want to say is that, as Mheshimiwa is saying that the current president is the best person to deal with the particularly in that area. Now he has to be ready to risk his political life to deal with these leaders who will be found that they are part of the team that is working, mostly in supply of arms. These arms are bought, they are expensive. The locals cannot be able to acquire them. There are leaders who were in the front line to purchase and acquire them, maybe from Uganda or from Ethiopia or wherever. Yeah. Therefore, unless the government now feels that they have to deal with these leaders, because some of us is that we might feel about our political future. But if you know this is a leader who is funding these atrocities that they're killing our children and our women, it's very painful. When you see a helpless child, when they are shot, they are killed while learning, it's very painful. Yeah. Therefore, nobody should have mercy on such a leader. That leader should be arrested, should be put in jail, and we should not compromise on this. But the biggest problem is whenever we try to balance politics and so on the issue of human beings. Because at the end of the people are dying for the sake of politics. It can get crazy.
Just quickly, I'd like to actually set the record straight. I didn't say that what Kenyatta did was actually a success. But at that particular time, what would Nairobi define as a success in an operation? Now, quickly, Kenya is unable to fight the banditry problem in isolation of Uganda, Sudan, and Ethiopia. That those other countries will not. It must be a multinational approach to this particular issue, because the Karamajong in Uganda cause problem on that side, and they cross on this other side and hide. Kenyans also do the same. And now that we have got an operation, I can tell you the lead bandits are not even in Kenya. They've already crossed over to the other side. They will seek refuge on that side and come on this particular end. Two, we have got a problem on terrain. Normally, the military guys will talk about the three T's: training, terrain, and tactics. So here, those local boys have got an advantage on terrain. So they know it much better than the people we are sending in. And a lot of times, we have not made service in the military or even the police about what you do for while you're on desk. So we are picking young people and sending them to people who have not seen battle any day. We are sending them on that particular end. Basic stuff like employing technology. And here, let's talk about what drones can do. I'm not talking about the drones that you've seen, the ones that we use for camera and so that those pockets know one thing. Mtu ataambiwa kuwa ukitoka nje utapigwa na radi. So that anyone who's actually seen out proper drones, we are talking about drones that can actually do attacks, armed ones, not just for surveillance. And that means that we have to employ a little bit, that is for short term, to ensure that we can contain. First of all, bring in all the other countries. Number two, ensure that we employ technology so that we have got an advantage on terrain. These guys have got an advantage on terrain more than our boys do. And it's not like we are lesser trained or our soldiers are lesser trained. It's just that we have never had a priority. I'll tell you, on the day somebody attacks State House, you'll realize that we have got capacity to deal with anything. But so long as it doesn't touch the heart of Nairobi, it doesn't touch anything around Parliament, you just need to go and threaten the Parliament and see what will happen. So
the moment it happens in your house, that will know
then
the impact.
While we do that, we should also have in place long-term strategies to ensure that then a newer generation of young people who come up can embrace different economies, that livelihoods can be redefined. But if the only way to go about this is about what they do today, it's not going to change. And then lastly, all politics is local. Banditry is just as political as politics come in, especially in that particular region. One area, one community feels like we cannot be the whipping boys. Sometimes it's just for local rivalry, and in the end it actually spews out. Can we also reach out to a level where people can speak to each other honestly, so that then people do not feel the Turkanas are the blue-eyed boys of the north, and then the Pokots are the ones to be blamed for everything else. Then on the other side, the Tugans are being blamed, the Marakwets are suffering on that particular end. Can we then also have a realistic, can we address it politically? It also can be done.
All right, gentlemen, I need to get 5 minutes. I have 5 minutes to remain. But gentlemen, members of parliament, I will give you 5 minutes if you can. We are, in the new year. Allow me to ask you this question. What have you achieved so far in your constituency? Let me start with you.
Yeah, starting with me. Thank you very much. First of all,
because that's what Wananchi also want to hear from you.
Yes. We came in at a very difficult time, especially for my constituency. We had a 52% voter turnout because of the drought that was hitting the region that time. Until now, that drought is still hitting our people. Livestock have died. So what we have done is to work with other development actors, particularly those people in the civil society, international NGOs and what have you, that support humanitarian. We've managed to attract quite a number of them to the region to support those poor, vulnerable people, at least to survive those months until the rains come. And the rains have been elusive, and every time we thought it will come the next month, it will come there, it's becoming prolonged. So the difficulties are still prolonging. So one is that. The other one is, I think we've done a lot of the work that has been sent, the reason why we have been sent to Parliament, that is, we're working on a lot of
What have you
legislative...
done specifically on health and water?
On health and water, you see, health is a devolved function of the county government. Water is a devolved function of the county government. We are working with the county government to prioritize areas that are really requiring the needs. They're also having problems with the money. You just talked about the money that the counties are receiving. We are working with the June budget that was with very little maneuver to change anything to be able to meet the emerging needs. But one other thing we have done is to make sure the parents from constituencies who have children going to school are cushioned.
Yes.
We have paid bursary for all our students in Mandera. For example, working with the county government, secondary education in Mandera County is now free for the next 5 years.
Okay.
Nobody will pay fees.
At least now you're better than Dinijoro.
Exactly, and the other thing we have done is the other thing I've done, particularly because of the problem with teacher shortages I have in Mandera. Mandera right now, as we speak, has 58% teacher shortage. 58% teacher shortage.
That's a
you get it. And a county like Rinyaga has only 1% teacher shortage.
Okay.
You don't ask me the reasons why. But what we have done is to like in my constituency, I have put aside from the NGCDF kitty money for sponsoring 150 teacher trainees.
On that, let me just hand it over.
Yes.
About you, NGCDF.
Yeah.
Something close to your heart is tea in Kangema.
Yeah.
How many tons have you exported?
Okay, thank you very much. I think mostly, as you have put, that some of the things that we have already achieved during our time, the short time that we have been in politics. One thing is that, first of all, let me look at the issue of water. I found that Kangema town didn't have water because of some of the infrastructure that were being done on the upper part, but now water is flowing. Therefore, Kangema town now has a 24/7 water supply. And also, I have worked on to do issue of health, though it's devolved. I used to follow up on Kangema Hospital as I try also to operationalize Kangema KMTC. And I think we start with the governor, and a lot is being done in Kangema Hospital.
For the groundbreaking?
Yeah, and I'm working also on groundbreaking because I've gotten lecturers from the county government, from the governor, and therefore we are planning in September we'll have an intake in Kangema. And also we have worked with the government to see how we can facelift Kangema General Hospital. On issue to do with the tea, an issue to do with the tea is our role now as a member of parliament. And the issue of coffee has gotten some clear path as we worked with the task force. The task force that were working, there are some things that Munya did which were not right, whereby they have been reversed by the government, especially the regulations. And I think the issue of coffee is doing very well. The issue of to do with the tea is not extremely clear. But one thing is that the act that that came up in 2020 on reforms in tea, there are some areas that are very positive, whereby we are pushing the Tea Board of Kenya to see how they can be able to operationalize. First of all, the operationalization of Tea Board of Kenya is very critical because now this is a parastatal that is looking on issues to do with tea. One area is that we have a handle, is that the Act said that the managing agent should not charge anything more than 1.5%. Previously, they were charging 2.5%. Now, the other issue is that the Act said whenever the managing agent takes up the management of tea factory, its workers should be paid by the managing agent, which is extremely practical. But now they have been playing cat and mouse, whereby they take the managing agent, they are given the contract to manage tea factories, then they charge the tea factory to pay for their workers. Now I'm wondering what's the use of the 2.5% they were charging. Now, for now, the management agreement between tea factories and KTDA was supposed to be signed by 17th this month.
Okay.
They did not sign because they said that moving from 2.5 to 1.5 is too true. But I'm asking KTDA, when Doda came up with a law on interest rate, or Jomo, who came up with the law on interest rate, capping it to around 14%, the banks first of all complied with the law. After they complied with the law, then they started raising issues after they comply. KTDA should not state itself as an exceptional. Whether they are demanding that first of all we work out on the management figure, then they can comply. What I want to tell the Tea Board of Kenya should be take the responsibility to understand if KTDA cannot be able to work with 1.5% as managing fee, they should look for other management agents. There are so many who are willing to work with the tea farmers, who can be able to work with 1.5%. Then they can raise issues whenever they are working on.
Yes.
Therefore, that's an area whereby I wish Tea Board of Kenya should be extremely take responsibility. They must understand their role is to, the KTDA is under them, and the Minister of Agriculture also should not focus too much working with the managing agent, KTDA. Should focus working with the Tea Board of Kenya, because that's the entity and government parastatal under the Minister of Agriculture that should be advising and working with the ministry to see how our farmers will be able to earn more.
My director is asking me, are kids going to school in Kangema?
Yeah, my kids are going to school in Kangema. I've dispersed bursary for Form 1s, and I am sponsoring a few needy students, 100%. I'm working now for releasing bursary for the Form 2, 3, and 4, which I do by this week. That's why I'm going there to see how we'll be able to do it. And also, there's this issue whereby the format that Dede Nyoro came up with. We are trying to study it. If it works, we'll still work with it also. Because we are trying to see how we can be able to use CDF. Okay. We can be able to use CDF money to be able to assist mostly our children to go to school.
Thank you so much. All right. Education is key for all of us. Of course, we are here because of education. And that's why I had to finish with education so that we see how kids can go to school. We have got so many needy students who've passed 400 marks and above, and they're not able to go to school. If you can reach out to them, please do so, because at the end of the day, that's the only equalizer why we are here. Thank you so much, gentlemen. We're speaking to Honorable Peter Irungu, Member of Parliament, Kangema constituency. I have got Honorable Abdul Kore from Mandera South constituency, as well as Arnold Maliba, who is a policy analyst. Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Asanteni sana. We've built Kenya the best way we could.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Good morning. My name is Victor Lo. Bye-bye.
No, I don't think you're ready for that one yet.
What happened to not hogging the ball?
Yes, Yoko hog. I just think you're not ready yet.
Aki baba mwani nikikupata huku. Nikikupata huku wewe, yani unibia mbao yangu, ukamkukunywa. Hiki kibaba ni kiera gani? Hiki kibaba wacha nikushike wewe.
Abuda, kuna noma nini?
Labda tuambie.
Si raha tuna noma. Ara ni kujitoa, tuko najitoa.
So you said you're showing me evidence. I want to see it for myself. Plus, the little boys, Kwani, what are they going to do? Ziggy! Ziggy, please, guy, please stop. Please say yes, someone help us. Ziggy!
Finally found you, my darling. How about taking the day off to celebrate that things worked out so well for us? Take the day off and go to town to walk around and eat something. What do you think?
Why didn't you tell me the truth, Reynaldo?
I didn't say anything about what?
Why didn't you tell me that the person who rescued me on the beach wasn't you, but Ruben? Tell me!
And in any case, Denora, my only advice to you is for you to always remain at Rodrigo's side. Don't abandon him. Don't stay far from him and give him all the attention he needs.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I know my story, but I'm telling you to keep her in sight. In fact, I can assure you that she needs your support right now. She needs it very, very much.
Kitwek FM, Kegosin.
Enjoy a selection of the best. Regina Ray and Tim Gazi.
Bado hujamwambia unamlike. Umerealize hujamwachilia mkono kutoka nikuje hapa.
Love blossoms in Mexico with the trio sisters in Las Bandidas.
I beg you, please don't go.
I want you to be the happiest man in the world with a woman who appreciates and respects you.
An array of music rave.
Make me lie when I don't want to.
Blues.
You are my everything.
Two local gems. And we sit to chat with the Diambo.
You know, I can't even tell whether you're looking at me, seeing me. With the Louis Vuitton.
Classic comedy.
Makono too. Say that again.
Enjoy the Divas programming this February only on KBC Channel 1. Kenya's watching.
All right, welcome back. This is still Good Morning Kenya. Thank you so much for sticking with us. My name is Ram Maguko. It's a pleasure being with you on this fine Monday morning. And of course, this is the next conversation of the day. We want to talk about matters concerning tech. And in particular, I want us to delve deep into the dynamics of online marketing using technology. Is it possible for you to market yourself well and take advantage of the technologies available at your disposal? What are they? How possible is it for individuals and companies to maximize on their online marketing and online presence? Today, let's talk about this particular matter. To help us in this conversation in studio, I am with Washington Mageto. He is a CEO and founder of Platdel. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming, my brother. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate being here.
And we shall also be joined by Sanjeev Jandu. She is a CEO and founder of Breathe Media. Now, she will be joining us via Zoom on our online platform. And of course, you can see her on your screen. Sanjeev, thank you so much for joining us today. Good morning, or I don't know what time it is from where you're watching us from. How are you?
It is morning. I'm still in Kenya. Good.
Where are you joining us from?
Well, I'm still in Kenya. I'm in Laikipia right now.
All right. Thank you so much for coming. We shall be with you in a bit, but let's come back to studio here with Washington. And before we delve into matters concerning, online marketing, correct. You are the CEO and founder of Platdel.
Yes.
Platdel. Tell us what that is all about within just 1 minute.
Okay, Platdel is an integrated e-commerce system. We built it the past 2 years. we built a centered e-commerce embedded financing with us connecting vendors directly to consumers. We've been able to actually finance our vendors within the platform, cash them out instantly, and also provide affordable loans within the platform to be able to actually continue with their trade.
All right.
So that's technically what we built with Blackdell. Yes.
And let me get to the first question of for you. What is online marketing technology, and how can we use that?
Now, technically, online marketing is the use of different media as well as devices to be able to actually expose yourself to, say, the clientele or a set of people that you want to reach to. And so you can either deploy that using social media, you can use that using stationed advertisement agencies, be it influencer marketing and the likes. There are several ways you can be able to achieve that, but technically is using the technological sphere to be able to showcase yourself.
All right, thank you so much. Sanjeev, let me come over to you. Tell me about what Breathe Media is all about, and even as you talk about that, define for us in your own way what online marketing technology is all about, and how can we use that as individuals and as companies?
Okay, so Breathe Media is a full-service creative consulting agency. We are passionate about helping your vision come to life, from marketing campaigns to brand launches and creative planning. So we bridge creativity with business outcomes. And yeah, there's different ways. My favorite is social media marketing for online technologies, because that's what I specialize in, with content marketing and email marketing. So essentially, it's just different ways that you can reach your audience and connect with them.
All right, but still on you, you're talking about reaching out to audience and connecting with them. Very key area, very strong words you've used there, very particular. So let me still on you. How can individuals and companies, those who are online, how can they manage to develop a more targeted and sophisticated marketing strategy for them in a way that catapults them to the next level? Because you've talked about being specific to individuals.
Yeah, I think the main thing is really knowing your audience as a business or as an individual, because the content that you put out or how you reach out to them has to solve their pain point, and they have to resonate with what you're trying to sell them. I always say only 20% of the content that you put out should be like a hard sale. The rest should really be trying to understand what your audience likes, what they connect with you on, and you'll know by the engagement that you get on particular posts. So if you don't know your audience, or if someone says everyone is my audience, that can't be true. You can't relate to everyone. So you have to really be specific to the point where, like, you know what your audience does on a daily, you know their daily routine, you know what troubles them at work, what troubles them at home, and that's when you can really have effective marketing strategies that will actually connect and want audiences to learn more about you, and also giving your brand or your person, your individual self a personality, especially like if it's a company, because everyone relates to a person. So yeah, you want to be as real and authentic as you can, and I think that's the strongest kind of strategy you can follow.
And still, so one thing you've mentioned is you should not just say that your target market is everybody. People sometimes, some people do that. They say, I target everyone. I'm reaching everybody. People, we should move away from such kind of conversations. Is that so?
Absolutely, and especially when you want to do targeted ads, for example, it's good to get specific. And I think people are scared to get niche because they feel like it's too small. But that's where you'll actually, get the sales, or you'll get in touch with people that will actually buy your products or services. Because there's like 55 million people. You can't reach everyone. Not everyone is your audience, and there are companies or businesses that are for the masses, but then especially if you want to get specific and you want to understand who buys from you, especially from the online perspective, the niche the better. And then that's how you can broaden up, knowing that you're, going towards the right direction with your audiences.
My brother, do you agree with what Sanjeev is saying? And you take on this conversation of personalizing your marketing strategy?
Absolutely. Take an example. There is an advert I saw, without mentioning the actual advert. I saw an advert of a particular person selling bananas and picking the bananas at the same time while giving out the bananas. So I think this particular advertisement was actually resonating with the public because that particular person they were portraying was actually eating the bananas, or rather eating from the people. So from that aspect of personalizing it, you actually get to resonate with the advertisement itself. And the people who resonate with it are people who complain or use that particular service more often. So the competitor used the pain point of the other party to be able to actually personalize the advertisement. You cannot possibly reach everyone while advertising. And if you do so, then your return value of advertisement might not really be worthwhile. You might have spent a lot of money for people to see you, but then no one actually buys from you.
It means we need to take a lot of time doing research to know our target audience.
Absolutely. If you are selling goods and services to, say, a university student, you need to realize that this particular person has a pocket money. And sometimes it actually spans to a particular level. So you cannot possibly sell a Mercedes to this particular person. You can't. So you need to actually know the target market that you're actually dealing with. Then you personalize it and then you reduce it completely to the simplest level and then market it to these particular people.
All right, let's give examples so that we break this food down in a manner that is digestible to the body. All right. Just give some examples here. Main technologies that are available that can support online marketing.
There are several instances or other platforms that you can be able to use. One of the most influential platforms that is upcoming and especially very popular with Gen Z is the motion video. We call it TikTok and the likes, where you embed or you do product placement or you do something within that line and use the young people to actually reach the other young people. If you actually want to now reach out to a slightly more mature age set or demographics, and you need people who have families, people who are working, and people who have a financial power to be able to actually make a financial decision, those are people you find on Facebook. If you want to sell something that is purely a lifestyle kind of a product or service, and then selling on Facebook will be wrong for you. You need to sell it on Instagram because that's where people do lifestyle products and the likes. So you just need to understand which platform is doable at what particular time.
Okay. And let me come to you, Sanjeev. Still on that particular aspect of platforms, how do you recommend us? How do you do it? What are the things that we should be able to do to balance? Because we have so many platforms that are available, that are at our disposal. How do we strike that balance between which platform to use, which technology to use for a particular marketing strategy?
Again, same way as audience can't be everyone. You don't have to use every single platform available. So I agree with what's been said, like really asking where your audience is firstly and what your product is. So I think video content for sure is growing. It's on the rise. 83% of internet users in Kenya watch and interact with videos. So definitely having some form of strategy around how to convert a static image or an artwork into a video will reach lots of people. Understanding like how you can use socials as a sales tool. So for example, Facebook, you have the boosting that you can do on there. And then, like TikTok and Instagram are mainly focused on short form videos, but also not forgetting your e-commerce platform or having some sort of website, because through that, with SEO and just Google search, it will be easier to find you when someone's searching. I would say focusing on video content as a strategy will definitely help just increase your overall visibility online.
And still on you when it comes to that, there is this perception, and Washington, you've mentioned this here, that there are some technologies that resonate with a particular age of people.
Correct.
You've said so.
Correct.
But of late, I've been seeing some guys that are considered to be a bit not of Generation Z.
Correct.
They are from Generation Y and,
absolutely,
and X. They're using technology like TikTok.
Absolutely.
So we are seeing a more involved sense of marketing.
Absolutely.
So Sanjeev, let me come to you. Do you consider age when it comes to selecting your digital platforms, or does age not play a role here?
Well, I think it's that, myth, or rather you have to be young to use TikTok. I feel like everyone is on TikTok. You have millennials, you have people older on TikTok. It's just getting your video to the right audience on the platform. So I don't think you can kind of say, oh yeah, TikTok is for the young, the Gen Zs, and then Facebook is for the older, millennials, boomers, whatever it is. I feel like your audience is everywhere, but it's just making sure, now with the algorithm of social media, the content will get pushed to the people's feeds that will actually interact or have viewed it before, or resonates somehow with the content that they're already interacting with. So it's now focusing on, okay, is this video that I've created going to actually reach the right people? Are the hashtags I'm using going to reach the feeds that I want to? And everyone's feed now is so personalized. So on TikTok, my husband's is full of cars and mine is full of what I eat in a day. So it just really depends on what you want your audience to see. So I don't think you can really say specific platforms are for specific age groups, but it's just again, is your content going to reach those people?
So you can be on TikTok. So you can see an old guy just do something.
You can be on TikTok. My dad is on TikTok. It's fine.
Let me come to you, Washington.
Yes.
Your thoughts on the same.
Yes.
It's not a weird thing.
Absolutely.
As long as you market your item.
I think the percentages of people who are within those particular platforms is what we need to actually look at.
Okay.
Yes, there are relatively advanced in age persons within TikTok, but the largest majority are young. The largest majority.
And still, we also need to consider the fact that we are not just talking about that one particular platform only.
Correct.
Even we have other platforms, TikTok, Instagram, for example. There are those who are saying Instagram are for, I don't know if you've also heard the same, but from what I have heard, there are those that are saying Instagram is for ladies, for the females. That it is weird to see a man taking a selfie like this.
Not really. I think Instagram purely is a lifestyle platform. Most of the things you'd find someone posting on Instagram, you can't find them posting them on LinkedIn. High chances you might not find them on different platforms.
Because different technologies come with different brands and different target audiences.
Absolutely.
All right. I want us to touch on some of the strategies for online marketing. Give us a tip, and then I'll come to Sanjeev on the same strategies for online marketing. Washington?
I think one of the key things, even as you deploy your marketing on social media, online and the likes, you need to always have a landing point. A landing point, as Sanjeev mentioned, you need either a website or you need something that people can be able to reach you through. One of the biggest issues we are having with the digital platform nowadays is that someone can actually create a pseudo or bogus account without necessarily following particular plan or protocol and sell or rather market their products. and then they don't have a pay bill, they don't have a till, they have no bank account. There's virtually nothing that you can reference to them.
They're using their own personal number.
Absolutely. And those numbers sometimes are not even registered to themselves. So you find a lot of people have been swindled through that particular platform. And so for you to actually look legitimate, you need a landing point. You need a place where every other person will land to immediately they actually see your product. Most preferred landing would be a website. It won't cost you much to actually have a website. Nowadays, I think there are pre-built websites, so you can actually purchase this as less than 5,000 also.
And interestingly, you've reminded me, there are some tech that have come up, innovations, great innovations, that have come up where you can get a website within a few minutes. And there is AI that uses some form of algorithm to make a website for you within a few minutes.
You key in some keywords, mention that you actually are selling apparels and the likes, and then you get a whole generated website that has apparels and the likes. So your work is just to edit in the simplest way possible. It won't cost much, but it's the best way
strategy
to be able to actually verify your authenticity. Absolutely.
Sanjeev, let me come to you. Strategies of online marketing from your end?
I think definitely investing in paid advertising as much as you can reach organically. It takes a longer time, especially as a new business. So as you're trying to gain your database, your audience, is really hard these days to do it organically like it used to. So definitely investing in media buying. So whether it's to your website, SEO, or Facebook ads, just to help find your audience a little better and understanding who's going to kind of engage with your campaigns. And then hire a really great social media agency to do your content marketing and be able to get that right content for you and posting. And it's all about consistency as well and what's going to be sustainable for you. So not saying go all out in the first few months of your business, but just really understanding how you can be consistent with connecting with your audience.
Wow, wow. Be consistent with connecting with your audience.
Correct.
Very powerful words there. And Washington, I'm looking at that aspect of connectivity, especially with the audience. How does consistency play a role in terms of online marketing and putting into consideration technology? Does consistency affect a marketing strategy?
One of the things that people tend to look at is whether they can see you again tomorrow. It will inform whether they can believe you in the long run. So the more consistent you are at what you're doing, at your marketing, at your strategies and the likes, the easier it is for people to trust you actually in the business. You see, people don't just trust immediately. Maybe your friends and family and a few other people.
Maybe some unique people
who would trust you immediately. But by the virtue that you're entering a market that other people exist, people who are competing with you, it takes time for them to actually trust you.
And so you're consistent for many years, decades.
Absolutely. So consistency. And maybe they've gone through a rough patch with the existing service providers. And so it takes time for you to constantly remind them that you're better, that you're good, that you're offering the best service. You need to constantly tell them. Then they will actually try you out the first time. And the moment they try you out the first time, make sure you've done your best. Absolutely.
And once you've done it, don't take time and act based on moods and today I don't feel like doing it.
Consistently. You need to actually look at one, you've identified the pain points of this particular person, which you're offering a service that the other competitors don't have, or maybe they do have, but you're offering it better. The fact that you're doing that, make sure that you constantly remind this particular clientele or audience that you are the best. There are people who are in the industry who are dominant in the industry. They've dominated the entire market, but they still remind you.
Have you ever been in that position where you've lacked consistency? You've done something and you're like, I need to wake up and do this again.
Sometimes it's a bit costly, especially with digital marketing, or rather marketing in general.
Yeah.
I know most companies do spend hundreds or tens of millions to be able to actually remain relevant through the digital platforms. Sometimes it's a bit costly for a startup to be consistent, because you require a lot of capital to actually maintain that cycle of consistency. And yes, I've gotten there at some point. Lucky enough, at least we got an investment, and so we are able to actually sustain particular things within the industry. Yes.
Sanjeev, how have you managed to fight this challenge of consistency? I know many service providers, many who are in the media industry, many who are doing online marketing. I know many face this challenge of consistency. Have you been in that particular position?
Yes, of course. But I think the best way to deal with that is to batch your content or pre-schedule and just really plan ahead, and making sure, like, how you stay organized with what you want to post, like having a theme for each month, for example, working with content pillars. I know this might sound like jargon to some, but just really planning ahead is key for consistency. But I've seen a lot of the times my clients maybe struggle with consistency because they're still struggling with finding the right audience, or struggling to understand who's going to buy from them. So that's where lack of consistency comes from, because you're constantly then changing your product or service to fit other, your audience. So I think just really being strong with what you're trying to sell and understanding your buyer's journey, where they're at when they come to you, and how are they going to go from the funnel, like down the funnel, to then finally buy. And then that's where you can have consistency, because then you for sure know at what stage your audience is coming from or coming to, and how you're going to kind of guide them to the next.
Wow.
So yeah, I think that's where consistency kind of fluctuates a little bit, but again, I think it's okay to also go through that. It doesn't mean that everything has to be like perfect before you just market it, because once it's out is once you realize who's actually going to buy from you.
Wow. And still on you, Washington mentioned something here about funding. How can we beat it, this challenge of funding? Today you have the funds, tomorrow you don't have it. So your marketing strategies get affected at some point.
Yeah, I feel like marketing budgets are always the first to go when funding is low, which is sad, because it's, you rely on a lot on marketing to get you the sales. But I think, again, just being sustainable with it and not going all out in the beginning, or going with a shoot or whatever is not as necessary, and just kind of, having a small percentage each month going into marketing. So, whatever your sales are, that's dedicated to marketing. So like even 1% or 2% of your turnover, whatever it is, at least okay, this is what I have, and I don't have to use it all right now. I can phase it out. And also prioritizing, like based on your business objectives, what you want to use it for, whether like 1 month it's just for building your website, the next month can be for doing an ad on a campaign. So just, I think, being sustainable with your funding, so you're not just losing it all. And of course, depending on your business, there's different ways that you can raise investment, or you can collaborate. I think collaboration is the most kind of obvious of like saving funding, but also having a brand collaboration or a collaboration that's going to help you with sales. So there's different ways that I think you can go about that.
All right, thank you so much, Sanjeev. I'm coming. I would like to say thank you so much for you joining us today. Let me just give you time to have a final word. Let me start with you, Washington, just within 20 seconds or so. Final word when it comes to matters concerning digital marketing, and then we will come to Sanjeev on the other side. as we wrap it up?
Actually, just to mention, one of the things that we decided to do as a business was to create a platform that we can be able to help such small organizations that require a platform to sell as a landing point, and as well as logistics aspect. And we subsidize their transportation, we subsidize energy on their side. We help them go green and the likes.
Okay.
And we also finance these particular businesses that are on our platform.
All right.
And so technically they can be able to actually use our platform for such.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Sajiv, let me come over to you. A final word, just within a brief of 20 or so seconds. As we wrap it up, what are your final remarks?
Yeah, I think definitely prioritizing how you want to use online marketing for your business, whether it's through paid ads or content marketing. Just be really sure who you're selling it to and who you want it to get to, and the rest will kind of fall into place.
All right. Thank you so much, Sanjeev, for joining us. It has been a pleasure having you today. I appreciate your presence. Thank you so much.
So much. Bye.
All right. And Washington, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
It has been a good conversation.
Absolutely.
And of course, thank you so much to everybody that has been part of this conversation today. It's all about matters concerning dynamics of online marketing. Of course, bringing into perspective matters concerning technology. Well, it's a wrap on my end. We're taking a short break, but we'll be back with more right here on Good Morning Kenya. My name is Ram Aguko. Keep it KBC.
Listen up. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Engine.
How do we hear? How do we see? What makes up the air we breathe? Let's go! It's technology. Let's go! Science, you and me. Let's go! We're learning every day.
Let's ask, let's learn, and let's love. And don't forget to make it fun.
3, 2, 1. Jenny.
Talking about work with his dad? What's so urgent?
Jenny,
Oh, you're here.
did I keep you waiting?
Not at all. I just arrived. Let's go in and sit.
Okay.
Jenny? Since when did you change your name to Jenny?
Abantu ba Mintombo Yamore. Your favorite Kisii station, Minto FM, is now at your doorstep. Enjoy the hottest Kisii music, informative and entertaining shows, and reliable news only on Minto FM. Tune in to Minto FM on 91.7 FM in Nyamira, Kisii and its environs. Minto FM,
According to the recent statistics released by the Ministry of Health, this was just early last year, March of 2022, it did indicate the prevalence of mental disorders in our country, looking at a total of 10,000 Kenyans out of a possible 100,000 who would suffer from one form of mental disorder or the other. This is what you're set to converse in like the next around 28 minutes or so with my guest who is here. That is Simon Muruki, who is a therapist as well as a counseling psychology. And even as we look at mental disorders, what will form center of our conversation is anxiety and obsessive compulsive disorders. Simon, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Let's just latch on this conversation with looking at those grooming statistics. I call them grooming because we are living at a time where mental health issues, looking at the various forms of them, is really posing as a challenge to our country. I mean, looking at 10,000 out of a possible 100,000, which is the number they did conduct the survey on. What do you make of this data?
The data is quite alarming, to say the least, but that is exactly what is happening. And the common person is grappling with the very first kind of a world, the technology, the family, the burdens, the economic nosedive, the political sphere in our world. And you realize the common person is so overwhelmed, and now that has a ripple effect, and it is starting and ending at the mindset, and the brain is disturbed. And now we see a lot of effects, not only on what the statistics say, but also on personal relationship to the kind of burden and the ripple effect from all these environmental factors. Yes.
You're saying that the common person is overwhelmed.
Yes.
From your practice as a therapist, as a counseling psychologist, what would you say are some of these factors that would lead to this overwhelm of people? And we'll come to anxiety momentarily, but then what are we talking about?
For example, the family line is already threatened. We have seen the kind of gender-based violence that has tripled and skyrocketed in the last few months. And at the beginning of this year, we have witnessed the kind of death from spouses.
Yes.
We have seen killings from even the disciplined forces. We have seen a split in the political sphere. Today you are very far, you have what we call status, and then tomorrow you are an ordinary person, and you're not able to accommodate the sudden change.
The shift,
the paradigm shift. You don't have enough shock. You're married today, tomorrow you're not. You have a family, and tomorrow you're a single parent. You have no idea how to meet your bills. And even before we go to the bills, your personal approach and reception to the sudden change is enough to give you a throwback. And we have very few places we can go out. For example, as a man, if things happen to me that are so overwhelming, one, I'm not supposed to cry because of the culture setup. Two, I'm not supposed to tell anyone that I'm suffering. I should bring my best foot forward. But that is a gimmick. That is not the real issue. So I appreciate that we can come and talk to people and tell them now, wait, don't keep quiet. Get out there and seek help. Get assistance from the ROCOP chief to the ward admin to anybody who is there. Shout out, and it will change. It may not be a very significant change, but if we can deal with one person, they will affect the family. It will affect the community, and at large, it will affect our world.
We can agree that the factors are numerous. I mean, you've just given an array of examples from when you could be married today, tomorrow you're not. You could be having a job today, tomorrow you're not. You could be a mom today, tomorrow you're not. So then, who needs to prepare humans for this?
Thank you.
Or you just...
Thank you. That's the best question right now.
Learn on the go.
One, the family setup, the family unit is supposed to help us. But how is the family now? It's grappling with food scarcity.
Oh, yes.
Rent. The very first world. Technology. For example, I'm using a gadget.
Yeah.
And my son is better on the gadget. So I try to look at him, the kind of lifestyle I was used to is so different. When he told me he wants to become a chef, I thought, I saw the chef from the point of what my mom used to do. And from what I knew, I didn't like what my mom used to do. So when he comes and tells me, I want to be a chef, it took me a lot of time to first unlearn what I know about a chef, and then accommodate and go to his place of work and realize he's not even using anything to, he's not using what my mom used to clean the dishes. He's actually putting them on a dishwasher. And that changed my setup. And I realized how badly, as a father, I was affecting my own son because I was not ready for the sudden change. I expected him to be like this, but according to him, he has already cultivated his life, whatever he wants. So you asked, who should help the common person?
Yeah.
The family unit. But now it is coming with a lot of challenges. So we cannot say 100% that the family is qualified to help you.
So then who should be helping who?
Thank you. That's why we are here.
Because, I mean, I agree, you come from the practice, you are there, but you realize at the end of the day, it still revolves around family because you would still go to see a therapist.
Right.
Whether it's anxiety, depression, you would name any type of illness, mental illness it could be. But at the end of the day, you will still go back to that family.
Right.
So then, how do we start this process of unlearning, relearning? Because we say in the 21st century, the stupid, so to speak, for lack of a better word, is not the one who hasn't really gone to school or gotten any form of education, is the one who cannot unlearn and relearn. How do we start? How do we change that?
One, we need to look at what we are having, the short-term goals and the long-term goals.
Okay.
Let us all take a personal initiative of bettering ourselves by way of communication, by way of finances, by way of personal growth. You may not be learned, so to speak, but you can always get a book online, you can get a magazine, and you can better what you want. Have set boundaries that tomorrow I want to be like this. Get online classes. Apply for a new position in a certain college. Don't go there with a closed mind. You want to better yourself. Two, get out there and better your spouse. But when I talk about spouse, I am very sensitive because that is also another issue that is bringing the disorder and the anxiety in the first place. Because you say, I am a working class, and then my spouse is a working class. The pressure she gets from the manager or from the managerial position is having an effect because she'll carry her work at home. She's overwhelmed. And then I'm not even able to pay the bills. So we don't have power. And she has a deadline, so she cannot even do it on her laptop. That alone will not only trigger a reaction, it will now trickle down from, I'll not be given food, my kids will be isolated. I'm using me or I as an example for better understanding. So the commoner, right, the person watching me is overwhelmed. And I read somebody was asking, where do I go? To the left, where nothing is left, or to the right, where nothing is right, seems right. So that is where we are. We are trying to grapple with the middle ground. So when you decided we talk about the anxiety.
Okay.
That is an opener because some of the people who are already grappling with these issues, they don't know they are exhibiting some underlying conditions. And we try to sit down with them and we try to help them demystify their very lives that is very fast. So they don't even have time to pause and listen as we give them the guidelines.
I hear you.
Yes.
And what I've just picked is what you've said, that someone did ask, where should I go? To the left?
Where nothing.
Or to the right, where nothing does seem right.
Yes. So you can imagine that person's perspective.
I hear you.
Yes.
So then when you talk about obsessive compulsive disorder,
right,
normally termed as the OCD.
Yeah.
Simon, what are we talking about? Is this a condition? Is it just a practice? What is it?
These are three-coined kind of words. Let's start with obsession.
All right.
An obsession is something repeatedly done. Whether it is done correctly and it becomes a pattern, then it becomes a habit, and then it becomes addictive. Now that is the obsession. The compulsive is now what triggers or the sequence of what has happened. It is a disorder. And the funniest thing, sorry to say, it's funny, is like so many people don't even know that they have.
That this is actually a condition.
It is a condition, but amazingly, very few people even know that they have it. So when it exhibits and destroys their social life, that's the time they realize, why did I lose a job? Why did I lose this interview in the first place? Because someone somewhere sat down and analyzed you and realized you have a disorder, and we don't want you seen with that.
What is it characterized with?
The first thing is habitual and continuous behavior and mannerisms. If you allow me, I can demonstrate.
Yes.
What is the time by your watch?
By my watch, it's about some 20 minutes.
So after the next 1 second, just check on your watch.
Okay,
then
still
let's continue.
Just check.
Now check it again.
We are still around the time.
Now, don't talk about the time. Just continue checking as I talk to you.
As I check my watch?
Yes,
right.
Make sure you check.
Yes.
So what you're doing is a disorder.
But I'm just checking the time.
Thank you.
How is this
but you're checking the time so many times.
But at times, I could be late for something.
Yes.
Late for an assignment, late for a meeting. So I just constantly be checking on the watch.
No, that's the
What's the problem with that?
That is the problem I have, because you don't even believe whatever I'm saying, that you have a problem. You're giving a reason.
That's what
that is one of it.
Okay.
That is one of it.
Okay.
If you see a person, you checked on your watch, 2 minutes. Then after 30 seconds, you're doing it. Then the whole day, it has become an obsession. And you may not know that you already did that. Someone else will point out to you, why do you keep on watching your watch, checking on your watch after every 10 seconds? And then it becomes a habit, and you're not even able to drop it. So you go for an interview, and because you're already used, you have that mannerism of checking your watch. Immediately you're told, now, Simon, we are starting, you check your watch. Then after 2 minutes, you check. So the panel thinks, we're already wasting your time. You're dismissed. You lose it. And you didn't even know what caused. And unless someone addresses you, and then you're not kind of defensive, and that is why I'm having it very difficult to tell someone, do you know what you're having is an exhibition of anxiety disorder. I want to show you something else. Can you kindly push up your hearing? Thank you. After every 2 minutes, kindly do it.
I keep doing it.
Yes. What's so funny? Do it. Continue doing it.
After every...
Yes, after every few seconds.
Every few seconds.
Now, that's a disorder.
As you keep doing it oftentimes.
Yes. I know of a friend. Every time he buys maybe a new coat, he puts it on and you kind of try to fit it. So he has always tried to fit it even after buying it, even after owning it, until today when he talks. That's exactly what he does. So people think he's proud, arrogant, and now the disorder has affected him because his persona has completely changed.
So this comes off from a habit.
That is why it's called an obsession.
All right, that you'll continuously do.
And
sometimes
encourage.
subconsciously, not even realizing you're constantly checking your watch, not realizing you're constantly flipping your hair.
Yes.
You wouldn't realize.
Yes.
Until someone points it to you.
And then you become very defensive that, what is the problem?
I'm just
what is the problem with checking my watch?
Yeah.
What is the problem taking my tea? What is the problem doing this? What is the problem checking on my phone? Like if I take you or someone takes you for a date, and the first thing you do is you put your phone on the table. As a psychologist, that tells me something. You are subconsciously conscious about a call or about an SMS you're expecting. So you will not give me the full attention. I want to show you something.
Yeah.
Cross your hands like this. Whenever you talk to someone,
classes, eh?
Don't go there.
Yes. So
I'm giving you this very simple basics.
Yes, yes.
To tell how to realize someone has excessive or the obsessions disorder. Whenever you're talking to someone and they hold themselves like that, what do you get from the person or the position?
They might be bossy.
Okay.
Is it? I'm assuming if you sort of like want to appear, if you're like this, I'm assuming you sort of want to appear like you are bossy, sort of like on top, like the head, and I'm like, you're like demeaning me.
What if it is a kid in class and
the kid, something could be wrong?
Yeah, what is that something could be wrong? Try to guess. I mean, we are analyzing the...
Yes. So...
it's very simple.
Something could be wrong with the kid, eh?
No.
It's not?
This person is very much ready to listen, but he's closed.
So you are there, but not there?
Yes, you're there, you're listening,
this means, eh?
But I will only get whatever you're saying, but I'm not open for discussion. Very simple. The body gesture is a non-verbal communication. So as a psychologist and as a therapist, we move from the conscious communication to the subconscious actions and patterns because of this behavior. For example, if today I'm talking to you and all of a sudden you close your eyes like this, whether you have an issue or not, it pushes me to think you're not even listening.
That's what that means.
Yeah, it pushes me as the speaker or as we are conversing to realize you're not there simply because you close your eyes for any reason.
Even if it's just for seconds.
Yeah, so we really pick what your body language is telling us for that particular moment.
The non-verbal cues.
And the non-verbal cues actually speak volume. That's why people say that actions speak
louder.
I didn't say it. You repeat that.
Actions speak louder than words.
So why even am I talking? I can just give gestures and you'll be done by the day.
And you realize even what you're asking me to do is things that you wouldn't even
things you don't even think.
Like I'd be asking you a question even as my guest and said, okay, Simon, tell me more.
Yes. You'll be able to
know.
And this
already comes off as something entirely different.
Simply because I picked it from... I always have that perspective, like if I am going somewhere and I want to look like I am listening, I should close my... Where did you get that from? That to me is interpreted very differently from someone who doesn't even know the meaning of... So it is always very good to sit down and know the reason and the repercussion and the ripple effect of every gesture. For example, a simple handshake will tell me so much about the next order of events. Very simple. So when I'm talking about obsessions, I'm talking about something you think is very small, but it is interpreted. For example, I come and I am tired and I tell a family member, I need, can you pass the pen? And then I throw it to you. I want it's just for this. I want to throw it again to you.
For this interview.
Okay. There you have it.
Yes.
What does that tell you?
And I decide I'll throw it back.
Now what you have created by throwing it back.
Sorry about
what
that.
you have done, you have now increased my anxiety. And now...
Just pause for the purpose of context.
Yeah.
And for understanding.
Yes.
So this was you taking that classical example,
yes,
perhaps from a busy day.
Yes.
You came home tired.
Yes.
And maybe you were asking for something and you wanted to just relieve you of what you had.
Right.
And you threw the pen as you did.
Yes.
And I threw it back.
Yes.
Assuming this is what normally happens to in good number of family setups.
Right.
One would say you were just tired.
Thank you.
But
that
in
is a
others?
defensive answer.
Okay.
Let's now get back to
the root.
why did you throw it to me in the first place?
Yes.
Because what you have done, one, you have done two things.
Yeah.
You have agitated me. Two, you have picked my agitation.
When you say agitation, this means now anxiety levels have gone high.
I've gone high because I'm wondering,
okay,
I only needed a pen.
Yeah.
What is this that is so difficult closing over and giving me the pen or the car keys?
Yeah.
So why didn't you just wake up and hand over the pen courteously? Why did you have to throw it? Is it because you're so much used to me? Are you belaboring me? Is it because I never brought food on the table? And now I pick some anxiety and aggressions, and the time bomb in my emotions are simply triggered by what you have just done.
Oh my goodness. And we don't even realize this.
You don't even realize. And then you have already left. So I'm left behind asking, why did she throw the pen? What else has she done in the recent time to show she doesn't care about me? Yesterday, she didn't cook my favorite food.
Okay.
And then you start now thinking, creating mental pictures and movies that will replay the whole day. Then by the time she comes in the evening, you already have a list of expectations. She didn't call me even after that to apologize.
Yeah.
And you know what? You never even did it consciously. Actually, you don't even remember.
I hear you.
Some of the things, the gender-based violence or even the killings have started.
Yes.
The perpetrators, or rather some of them don't even know that they did anything.
I hear you. And you realize, someone, that these things is what would in terms of its ripple effects,
yes,
is what would even lead to the number of gender, as you talk about it, the GBV issues, the number of death cases in the country, because it starts as small as such, but in the long run, the ripple effect is quite dire.
Yes.
And you have about 5 minutes to exit this space, Simon, and I want you to respond to this issue, because going by that particular report released by the Ministry of Health in March last year, part of what was being proposed is the fact that we decriminalize issues of attempted suicide.
Right.
So that also we can make these persons more open. Just from where you sit as a therapist, as a counseling psychologist, as we try to conclude this conversation, is this something we need to be thinking about as a country, decriminalizing that aspect as far as attempted suicide is concerned?
Well, I'll tell you this. Some answers, you'll never get them. Some solutions, you'll never get them in the court of justice. It's a personal initiative. If, for example, we criminalize that, and we have not even realized what led to the agitation in the first place. For example, I'll give you a very simple illustration.
Very quickly.
Very quickly. We learned that someone killed the husband and buried them in a sewer, and after that they were released on cash bail. Then the family came and knew where that person stays, and they realized there was no justice. Then the son decide that is so toxic, they can't live in such a country, and they take out their lives. What do you take of that? One unresolved agitation will open a floodgate of issues that even the court of law will not help. We need to get back again to the small units, to the daycare, to the nursery school, to the church school, to the ministries and the churches, to the small groups from the ward, from the family. And then we raise up people who understand how to deal with issues. Because the moment you take an upper hand as a judge and slam something on someone who is already grappling with a turmoil inside. How do you even rate a turmoil if someone is not even talking to you? We need to open more dialogues. We need to open forums whereby men can come out and talk about what is killing them. What are they going through? I mean, let's talk. Let's open very, 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 very free kind of one-on-one forums. Let's encourage people to even take paper and pen and write anonymously. Like I saw a box there. Let's not only have a suggestion box, let us have a box that I want to talk. Don't even have to name who did. But the moment you talk, the management will realize we have these issues, we have these issues. Then we can open up forums whereby people can talk freely. It will really help us not to go to the side whereby we are using extreme measures for issues we could definitely solve, like the way I threw the pen to you. That would cause a lot of damage to the extent the moment you come back in the evening and you do something else, award the 1 plus this
like
one.
Like the way I threw it back again.
Yes.
Can you imagine?
And then we will start fighting, and then the kids will be involved. There'll be a split, and then there'll be the divorce, and then there'll be the... And we have just started the cycle. We really need to know, where do we stop the cycle of these disorders?
Well said, and a good place to end it. Where do we need to stop the cycle of this disorder?
Now that we know what causes these small issues, where do we stop the battle? That is now to you.
Exactly, and also just a simple conversation will always go a long way. Thank you very much, Simon, for your time.
Anytime.
Highly appreciate your inputs and examples as well into these conversations. Asante sana. I've been speaking to...
I'll say something else. It is Simon Macharia.
Simon Macharia.
Not Muriuki.
Not Muriuki.
Yes.
Pardon me for that. Pardon me for that.
I do.
It is Simon...
No offense meant, I know.
Simon Macharia, indeed, who is a therapist as well as a counseling psychologist. Of course, what has formed center of our conversation is looking at anxiety as well as obsessive compulsive disorder, just the factors that will lead to this and just how best you and I can be able to deal with this, even just at the smallest setup in the society, which is the family setup. Good place to end this conversation, and ultimately, good morning, Kenya. Thank you so much for your time. Till tomorrow, good morning.
Maisha ni mafupi, hivyo si vyema kumaliza muda mwingi katika malumbano. Hesabu baraka zako, wathamini rafiki zako na tabasamu ili udumishe amani.
Kupata maisha, bonyeza *811 *816 hash. *811 *816
Wanaitana tu ole matope bila kuangalia na kuchiuliza ako wapi. Nini mbaya na wewe?
Okay, unajua ni vile uelewi ile kitu inatendeka.
Oi. Nguvu za giza zilimharibu. Na nilijua hii maneno yote ilikuwa imepangwa. Mama uangamizwe. Chokonia wacha ngwerese na usike vizuri. Unajua si ati tuwachui, mnataka kuharibia hoteli Siva. Wewe mwenyewe ukichangalia hata mwili yako. Mara ya mwisho ulikunywa dawa ya minyoni lini? Mama Kayai! Pokea hopo nyaji. Enkai, mama Kayai. Muponyeshe, hii pande isikana na hii pande. System yake yote ya mwili irudi vile nataka kuwa. Alifanya, hebu niondoke.
Mimi shika njia uende zako.
Finally found you, my darling. How about taking the day off to celebrate that things worked out so well for us? Take the day off and go to town to walk around and eat something. What do you think?
Why didn't you tell me the truth, Reynaldo?
I didn't say anything about what.
Why didn't you tell me that the person who rescued me on the beach wasn't you, but Ruben?